Welcome to the ObstacleDominator.com podcast featuring Benny Gifford and Brakken Crocker. Whether you want to dominate your next obstacle race or just get started in obstacle racing, you're about to discover every tactic you need to know, from gear to training to nutrition. Get the latest tips from the trenches, get your questions answered, and show up at your next obstacle race ready to dominate. And now, here's Benny and Brakken.
Obstacle Dominator Nation, episode 16 has arrived. Not only have we blown past the Matt B. Davis prediction of less than 5, we are approaching triple digits. We are at 16, and we're going strong. And today we have somebody who's a bit off the beaten path, but he is an absolute killer. And I would say probably in line for a Hall of Fame bid in the history of OCR. He's someone who's been there since darn near the beginning. He's still going strong now. He's Yuri Force from Atlanta, Georgia. He is the owner of 30-plus Savage Race first place wins and the owner of a winning record against me in Savage Race, something that I have no ability to overcome, I fear. So, Benny, we had Yuri on. He's someone that you did not know super well before, but you got to race this past weekend. How do you feel that he acquitted himself at his Conquer the Gauntlet?
Well, as he usually does, everyone knows if they've done a Savage that Yuri is the man to beat. No matter what competition shows up, he's the guy to beat. And so every time, the few times he's decided to, get out of Savage and do something else, I'm always thinking, oh yeah, now I'm going to get him, because he's just really good at Savage, but I can take him out at a Battle Frog. He crushed me at Battle Frog. And then he showed up to Conquer the Gauntlet this weekend. I was like, oh man, it's time for Yuri to go down. Well, he smashed me and everyone else at Conquer the Gauntlet as well. So the man is fit and he is a force to be reckoned with. Yuri Force. And he is probably the most disillusioned person to his own fitness level that I have ever met the entire time. Like at one point in this episode, I have to pause everything. And I'm like, Yuri, okay, this is not up to you or your perception of your ability. It's a fact that you are really fit. Okay. So we need to operate from there and then we can keep talking. Cause the whole time he's like, oh guys, I'm just not, cause he really literally has no idea what he's doing. He's just been one of those people that has stumbled into doing almost exactly the right thing. He's like those, it's like his lifestyle has turned into almost the perfect layout of like 80-20 running, high intensity and, building his aerobic engine. So, I'm really excited about this because there's only been one interview ever with him that wasn't like we got him at the end of the race, he just finished type thing. It was with Link Endurance. And so we are now the second people to ever interview the secret ninja Yuri Force. And I think it went great, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited for people to get to know Yuri a little bit. He is not the athlete who puts himself out there on social media. And so it's a rare glimpse into who he is and what he does on a day-to-day basis and what makes him tick.
Yep. Now listen closely for a challenge that I issue from YanceyCamp.com. It's a brutal challenge, and I challenge everybody listening to go even in the 8 minutes. If you can go into 8 minutes, you're super fit. If you can hit 7:30 on this challenge, then you are at the gold standard of OCR fitness. If you can go sub 7, we don't know who you are because you don't exist really. So look out for that challenge in the middle of the episode. Brakken, you said you could probably roughly go like 7:20.
I guess it's 7:20, but I'm going to have to find a 100-pound sandball and not.
Right. I'm going to have to just pack my sandbag, and that's probably going to make it even harder than if I had a 100-pound med ball, but whatever. We're going to see how it goes. And that kind of came out because you were talking about the Obstacle Dominator training guy. We're going to send Yuri one for free because the dude has no idea what he's doing. He just is doing.
I disagree with that. I think this is Yuri just like he is talking about his running. Yuri is an analytical guy. He knows what he's doing, but because he has no running background, I think he's aware of the fact that there's got to be more out there that he's looking for, but he's not just slapping stuff together haphazard.
Okay. Yeah. And that was not meant to say he's just screwing around. It's just he very verbally over and over reinstates, I don't know what I'm doing. This kind of like, I don't know what's going on type thing. But great guy. One of the first where their spouse is in the background and they're not like sneaking around. We got to chat with Carly a little bit. So that was cool. But yeah, man, without further ado, let's get chatting with Nope. I was for once going to not do it. I was just going to say, let's just start chatting with Yuri, but Brakken just had to throw this little dolphin wave in there, but let's do it. All right, this is going to be an interesting one. And Brakken, I think you're going to find this interesting because a while ago I talked to Yuri and he was talking to me about training, but he was talking about it in a rather questioning way. And I was like, what the hell? You just crushed all of us. Why are you asking me about training? And I got to know him and I realized this dude just runs a lot. Like he has no idea what he's doing. He's just super fit for some flipping reason. So this will be an interesting conversation. Also, we're, I think, the second interview ever with this gentleman that is not like a live at the end of a race before he sneaks off with his wife and kiddos type interview. So Yuri, we're excited to have you, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to learn a lot about running.
Wait, you came on here to listen to us talk?
Yes.
We're at a stalemate here. We came here to listen to you talk.
Oh, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
No. We're going to strike a good middle ground here because I think now I'm sure Jack's stats would be like, well, hold on a second, Benny, but I would lay down proof. Okay, guys, I hold it up with duct tape. We're not as legit as we look. But I will fix that in a moment as soon as I ask this question. But I'm pretty sure that
not about to fall down.
I'm pretty sure that Yuri is the most underrated obstacle racer in our sport. As in, every time he shows up to a race aside from Savage Race, I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm going to get him. And he crushes me just as good as he does at Savage Race. So, Brakken, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and just kind of talk about who Yuri is as far as his wins and stuff like that while I fix this guy behind me.
You do that. Well, Yuri, first of all, do you agree that you are underrated in the sport of obstacle racing?
I don't even know. I don't think I keep up with it enough to know who's underrated and who's overrated.
Yeah, I knew we wouldn't get an answer from you out of that. So that's all right. My take on it is that it's twofold why. The first is that you primarily don't run Spartans. Not that you haven't, not that you don't, but that's not your primary focus. And because of the nature of the beast, Spartan gets the lion's share of the credit and then the attention as well. And the second is that on one of the platforms that is a bit bigger, OCR Worlds, you primarily take the cash grab option and run age group rather than pro. So your two most dominant performances always lie in Savage Race and OCR age group. And that kind of keeps you off the general radar.
That's fine with me. I'm very okay with that.
Yeah, you have not taken the standard OCR route, which is show up to some races, realize I have some success, and this is my moment for people to consider me a big fish in a small pond, sign up for every social media I can, and start posting really provocative, cool pictures and try to gain as much notoriety as I can and pimp every sponsor possible. Instead, you kind of just do the opposite. You travel with your family, you try to bail out early because you have a pretty demanding job. We can get more to that later. And you are not a social media presence.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's a good generalization.
Is that you by nature or is that you by design?
I guess by nature, because I'm not smart enough to have any kind of design of life. So I'm going with nature.
I think you're underplaying your intelligence a little bit. Why don't you explain to the greater obstacle racing industry what your full-time job is?
Look at that. You can't show up bald with glasses and say you're not super smart.
Ooh, do I look smart? Is this a good look for me?
You keep those on, because if not, you might look like a lizard.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I don't look smart, so I'm gonna go with glasses.
All right.
Maybe I should add on too. Maybe turn around.
Little fedora, but okay. Answer Brakken's question.
Oh, yeah. So I'm an air traffic controller at Atlanta. Approach control.
Oh,
so what does this all entail? What are your responsibilities on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, I could be so immature right now.
I mean, the public perception is that you sit there. What we see in movies, you have a headset on and you're just constantly communicating with pilots saying you're good to clear LA, your United flight just landed, and doing that kind of stuff. Is that at all what your job is?
Pretty much. I have a headset and I work in a very dark room. It's no windows. It's almost black. And like my eyes are awful now, but yeah, we just talk to planes all day.
Do you ever chime in?
Panoramic windows.
What? Oh, no, I don't actually work in a tower. That's usually just what I tell people because that's what easy to understand. But no, I work in what's called a TRACON, which is Terminal Radar Approach Control. So we work all the airplanes into Atlanta from 50 or 60 miles out until they land. Once they land, the tower takes over and they talk to them. But once they're in the air on departure, that's where we climb them, turn them, separate them.
So the tower on site does not handle takeoff and landing. They handle only your runway business?
Yeah, only when the aircrafts are on the ground. When they're taxiing to the gate, that's what they do. The second you leave the ground, that's when we take over.
So Die Hard 2 is entirely fabricated?
Oh, man. I used to love that movie. Love that movie.
Did you just burst my childhood bubble?
I know. I'm telling you, that was probably my favorite of that entire series. And then
that comm tower would have been in the dark the entire movie. They would have had no contact with their circling planes.
Everything about that movie is wrong.
Well, my Top Gun experience is totally shot to pieces too. Also,
why is that?
When they do the flyby and they're like asking requests for, the point is they're talking to the pilots in that little tower, and that has nothing to do with what they do.
Well, doing a flyby like that, military is a little different. They do ask tower for a flyby.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
We push them over until they can do a flyby. Tower still has to clear them to land on the ground.
Do you ever chime in and do little airplane scenes like and Don't Call Me Shirley? Like that's how you sign off your radio every time?
No, we are not allowed to be frequency. We're not allowed to be immature.
Do you guys have like your?
There's just a strictly cut and dry black and white business in the dark.
It's very. Yeah, there's not room for much joking.
Well, you, sir, are in air traffic control at the worst airport in the freaking country. A whole bunch of people made me cry at that airport. What?
He's not at LaGuardia.
No. I'd take LaGuardia over Atlanta. A bunch of dude. Have a group of people ever made you cry at LaGuardia? No, they haven't. They made me cry in Atlanta.
Two things. The airport's not responsible for your emotional instability. Second of all, the airport's not responsible for their passengers and their rudeness.
You know what? No matter what you say, Brakken, that will always be the worst airport in the country for me. All right.
A bad experience by the passengers should not reflect on the airport.
Oh, did somebody pick on you?
Dude, not somebody. Like what?
He got bullied in Atlanta. That is not that does not put it above or below LaGuardia. Anything below LaGuardia. I
am referring to the demographic and the experience and the overall vibe of that place. It's like everybody behind
vibe because one gate had a group of bullies.
You know what? Every time I fly in there, no, okay, I don't know. You know what? Don't take this away from me, Brakken. This is a legitimate experience. It is.
What?
I was just doing all of my flights that I do for this company. They have me go through Atlanta first before I fly out to some tiny little airport like in Bristol or Knoxville or something like that. And just one time I fell asleep. Okay, I'm not going to tell the whole story. Basically, I fell asleep on some chairs because I had a long layover. When I went to sleep, I found a gate that had nobody there. When I woke up, I guess there was a gate. There was a plane leaving out of that gate. So there were people everywhere. And there was like a lady hitting me, like saying, "You're so disrespectful, falling asleep. There are people standing." And I'm looking around. There are seats everywhere. Like literally there's a seat right next to my feet where she's hitting me because she wants to sit where my feet are instead of the seat next to it or any of the other countless seats. There's this big group of dudes who are just like, "This is what's wrong with your generation. You just have no respect for your elders." I'm like, what? I'm asleep. I have no idea what's going on. Anyways, and then it turned into a big thing, and there was a whole bunch of them, and I don't like being ganged on, so there may have been some tears later on the plane. But this is not about me, okay? This is about Yuri working at the crappiest airport there is, and this is, more importantly, about Yuri being a total badass. How many wins do you have in Savage Race?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. It's like over 30 or 40, right?
I would go with 30-ish.
30-ish? Okay. And every single one of those, you have the freaking Savage Battle Axe of Glory, right?
Yeah, and then there's the Blitz they started last year.
Oh, right. Geez, now you're just doubling up on everything. Do you have? Are you?
The axe for a blitz?
Huh?
Do you get the axe for a blitz?
There's nothing you win for a Blitz.
What? You get $1,000?
Well, I mean, no.
Oh, like object or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
No trophy.
I totally thought you get. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Benny.
We have Carly to thank for this happening. Carly was our point of contact because Yuri's in a cave all day.
You have my phone number now, though, so I'm good. I answer phones.
How many people in this sport have your phone number?
Like 3.
It really is an honor to have his phone number. He just gave it to me recently.
Yeah. You just got
Carly, do you take a salary for playing secretary for him?
Oh.
Yeah, actually, when he went and conquered the gauntlet, I picked him up from the airport and he gave me a $100 bill. I'm moving up in the world.
Is that
That was for being secretary?
is that the conquer from this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, Carly, that $100 is blood money.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, that was the most stacked Conquer the Gauntlet in history because usually only Victor Quesada and I show up to those races and we're battling for first or second, and then third place rolls in like a few minutes later. Well, this race was by far, it's the only time I've not finished in first or second, and I wasn't even in top. I think it was either 6th or 5th. I don't know, but it was Yuri and then Ken. And dude, I think Ken would have had you, or did you let off the gas at the end because he messed up big time on Pegatron? Or sorry, he didn't mess up the little hole that you put the peg in, like it exploded twice. Huh?
I heard it broke.
Yeah, it broke, and I think he had to I think he said it broke twice. But either way, even if it only broke once, I looked at the time gap between you two, and he was pissed because I was past him at that point. And he came flying by me like I wasn't even moving. Like mother effing pegboard broke. Now I got to catch Yuri. And did you let off the gas at the end? Because I looked at the time gap and I thought it should have been bigger.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Honestly, like after Pegatron, I didn't know what Tarzan swing was going to be like, and I was expecting it to be catastrophic. So I was just kind of saving it to then, and once I got past there, I just kind of cruised the rest of the way.
I think they niced up the Tarzan swing at this location because it wasn't their last event, but one of their events from last year just had absolute carnage. It's the only obstacle I've ever failed over and over and over and over in, and it totally, I'm not going to say it ruined my race, but my inability to, I eventually completed it, but it was just wild and I'll say dangerous, but that's partially what I love about the smaller race series is that like edge of danger. But you didn't have any problem on the Tarzan swing, right?
No.
Yeah,
I was expecting it to be very difficult.
Was that Ashton guy your friend?
Yeah, Ashton's a friend of mine.
Who is he?
I think he's from Miami. He came with Jay Flores, but I met him at Gainesville Blitz, the Savage, and then Florida Savage. Okay, so he's done some racing before. I think he's been at the Worlds or something. Like he placed really well at his age group or won his age group or something. He's fast and he's very efficient at obstacles. Yeah, that was apparent. As we took off and it was starting to, I knew I had to look out for you, Ken, and Victor, but I didn't know who Ashton was. And as soon as we took off in those first like 400 or 800 meters, I think you heard me. He didn't know I was talking to him, and I was like, "Are you a 1500 meter guy?" In the first couple minutes, and he didn't answer because I don't think he knew I was talking to him. But the way he ran just looked like a track athlete, and it turns out he's an 800 meter guy. But he looks like somebody who's budding into a potential big name in the sport. Yeah, he's just going to get better and better, and he trains with the guy that I raced in Florida Savage, the guy from Nicaragua, who. He mainly focuses on the, the track race where you jumped over the water. I cannot. Steeplechase. Steeplechase. Wow. Yeah. Hey, for anybody wondering, I said steeplechase, Brakken. He didn't know. I was the one who knew. So.
No, I thought it says wakeboarding.
Wakeboarding. Just surf around the track, but okay, so. We had a crazy race. You walked away with it, as you kind of usually do. That was your first Conquer the Gauntlet, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Okay. So why, when I heard your name that you were coming in this race, I was like, what? We can't even get him to come to like the big Spartan races or North American championships or whatever. And then you show up to the Dallas location of a Conquer the Gauntlet race. So wrap our listeners' minds around how you pick your races, because you clearly have the ability. There are people way less fit than you taking stabs at trying to be professional athletes in the sport as like their main career. And yet you are just happy to show up to Savage Race, have a good time, show up to random races, but you don't, and you always do good no matter what race you show up to, no matter who's there.
The reason I picked Conquer the Gauntlet was actually the guy that I was with, Ben Frazier. He actually put it forward because his dad lives in Dallas, and he was like, well, why don't we just go there? We can stay with my dad. And because we both wanted to try out to Conquer the Gauntlet because of how hard it sounded like. And with Savage kind of, I wouldn't say downing, but obstacles seemed to be getting easier. We were looking for more of a challenge. Like we want the old Battle Frog back. We want the rig where everybody kind of goes, do this.
Well, to be fair, didn't you only ever do that one Battle Frog that I was at it wasn't Cincinnati. You only did one Battle Frog, right?
I think I did like 6.
Oh, you did 6. Okay.
Benny, do your research.
Atlanta 3, South Carolina, Chicago.
The only one I guess I was only aware of that one because I thought you had never done one. And so when you showed up to one, I was like, that's stuck in my mind. And again, just like I always do, I'm like, oh yeah, finally I'm going to take out Yuri because these obstacles are too hard. And at that particular race, that was when they had started like doing this with the obstacles. They had just started like, maybe it was South Carolina. I don't remember. It was a mostly flat course. It was really hot, but the obstacles were super easy. And as I was racing, I was like, no, I'm never going to catch Yuri. These obstacles are too dang easy, which obviously you would have done great even if they were hard. Okay, so you chose to Conquer the Gauntlet, but why not participate in Spartan when you know you could be towards the top of the series races and be making a decent income, a decent career out of it?
There's not like a real answer for that. It mainly was because I like Savage so much, but like I said, I'm just kind of getting burnt out on their obstacles because they seem to be almost going like a warrior dash kind of way with the obstacle. I think I'm hoping they're going to come back and make the obstacle a little bit tougher, but Spartan may be in my future, but I just don't like the penalty of burpees. I don't like that. I like obstacle completion. Well, I think when a race should be who can do the obstacles, which the guys who do that, I know Atkins is probably one of the best obstacle efficient people I know. Him and Ken would be up there. And honestly, probably Brakken. But like some of the other people that I feel like sometimes they even strategize just to do burpees and then they continue on the race. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to interrupt Benny. I feel like I've earned that right. He's derailed a few of my questions, so I'm going to absolutely derail you right now, Benny. All right, we're going to even the scales here.
There was no rail, so go ahead.
You're off the rail. It doesn't matter. Yuri, you just pulled up on something that I think is interesting to discuss, and that's the idea of penalties versus completion. Now, I would have thought prior to this conversation, you would have been on the side of penalties, but it turns out you're a completion guy. And I'll explain my side, then I want to hear yours. My take on this is that penalties keep the race a race, and obstacle completions turn it into more of a competition. What I mean by that is that when you get to really nasty obstacle courses, that you have to now take your foot off the gas slightly in between obstacles in order to keep something in the tank so that you don't fail things. And it puts the emphasis on obstacles, and it really takes away the race in between the obstacles. Whereas, let's say a Spartan race or something that has penalty, everyone redlines the entire time because there is no fear of, I'm probably not going to be able to complete this. And so they leave everything out. And you get to the end of the race knowing I didn't leave time out there. And what I was going to say coming into this interview is that you and I both did obstacle intensive, completion based races in the past couple of weeks. I did a frontline, you did a Conquer the Gauntlet. And I was going to ask, did you find it as unfulfilling as I did? I loved the race, but I thought it was a great competition. It was cool to compete on tough rigs. We had to wear a weight vest for ours, so it made all the grip stuff really hard. But I found myself every single run section just trying to shake my arms out and lower my heart rate and do what I had to do to get through the next obstacle, rather than in most races that I've ever run in my life, hammering to get to the next obstacle as fast as I could. But it sounds like you're on the other end of the spectrum where you feel like the obstacles should determine the race. So talk a little bit about that.
Oh, I mean, you just explained everything so well. Anything I say is just going to sound stupid.
No, not at all. I want to know why someone who is very fast and is very competitive at both formats likes the idea of placing emphasis on completion rather than overall intensity and speed of course.
I think what you're asking basically is like when I see whether whoever wins a race, I would rather see who wins the race to be better at obstacles than just fast. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to see somebody go out there and they win just because they can run a 13:35 5K. Like right. I want them to be able to be fast, but I want them to know, okay, I need to know that you can complete this obstacle and you didn't win this race just because you can run. Like if we're going to do that, then we can just go run a 5K on the road. But this is obstacle course racing. Obstacle, I think, needs to be brought back and is the main part of the race. Mm-hmm. I think that's what you're asking. Makes sense to me.
So I guess my question then would be, if you had to design a race, would you design a penalty-based race that had nasty obstacles but also nasty penalties? Or would you have something where it's just completion-based and it's always going to be about getting through that?
Ooh, fantasy land.
Because I feel like the Spartan has gotten to this place where it was really challenging, but people made it their day job. And now it just got to the point where most people don't fail things anymore. And when it does happen, it's so spread out with the running that great runners can run their way back into it because they've bulletproofed their burpee game.
Yeah. And Seattle, I think it was Seattle where VJ dropped on and that was very impressive. I mean, the fact that he ran down Atkins was just it was mind blowing to me. And like I think Majida said, is Atkins kind of got into mindset of like, okay, I just need to cruise now and I can do the race. And VJ was in the hunting mode, which is a great motivator. But I think if I was to design my own race, it would be obstacle completion. And it would be tough. It would be basically what I expect to Conquer the Gauntlet to be. A rig that you have to lâcher, have to use grip. You can't use the chains above the handles. I don't understand why that should be allowed.
So you are shooting for that perfect dividing line of 50-50, where no skill outweighs the other. You have to be able to run and you have to be able to obstacle, and neither one outweighs the other.
Yes, that's what I would prefer. Because, I mean, Ninja Warrior is, I would say, obviously obstacle heavy, where you have to, it doesn't matter how fast you can run. It's just of how fast you can do the obstacles, as opposed to like the Beast and Big Bear, which was, I mean, a grueling race, but it felt like the entire time I was watching the 2 hours of them running was just running. Like it was just, how fast can somebody run up a hill? How fast can somebody run down the hill? And I feel like there should be a medium between that, where it's just, you should be able to run fast, but you need to be able to do the obstacles efficient and quickly. So
what happens then when people perfect that? Because we've seen it with each race so far. Spartan double carries used to break people. The last World Championships, no one struggled on the double carry because people all focused on that. Battle Frog rigs used to break people. Towards the end, most of the top guys had figured out, all right, I need to train my grip. Do you think that a race could ever come up with something that wouldn't be perfected? Or is it on the races to constantly evolve?
I think if you get a perfect race, the competition is still going to break everyone down. So if you were to have a perfect race and I'm racing, let's say Atkins,
Mhm.
And he's faster than me, and he's I think better at obstacles than I am. So if I'm racing him, then I'm going to redline as much as I can, and that's probably going to end up breaking me down the road of obstacles, even though I'm pretty good at obstacles. So I think that's the competition is going to break somebody. I mean, whether it's like you actually have good obstacles or tough obstacles, if you redline it, then you're going to fail the obstacles. Like I did
That
hill
makes
sprints
sense.
today, and right after I do hill sprints, like I do them on the treadmill, and I jump off the treadmill and go over and try to do as many pull-ups as I can. And I got 6 today, 6 pull-ups.
Yeah.
So I mean, whenever I'm redlined, my whole body is fatigued.
So
That
Bracken,
makes sense.
it sounds like the kind of middle ground or 3 stages that I'm seeing is you have a pure running event, you have obstacle course racing, which is on the other end, where I think in my ideal world, and it looks like Yuri's too, running is an equal skill set to obstacle ability, not one over the other, in a predominant way. And then that middle ground where it's transitioning from a competition to a race, I think is like a steeplechase. Like those obstacles, no one, jumping over that thing in the water, that's still a race. But I think that's the difference is that's the middle ground, and we're not the middle ground. We're obstacle course racing to where I do get what you're saying, because I experienced that actually for the first time ever. I've noticed that, and that was here at Conquer the Gauntlet. I was wondering why I was not easily, but I was keeping up with Ken and Yuri for the first, I don't know, maybe third of the race. And I was like, what's going on here? Why is everyone going so easy? And I was thinking, oh, it's because it's Yuri's first, Conquer, and he's heard and seen the wreckage videos. And so he's probably keeping it tame, and Ken might be following suit. I don't know. And it was interesting. It was like, this is not really as high intensity. It was kind of like an elimination mile where everyone's kind of just like waiting for someone else to drop off, and they're not actually racing the entire time. So it was definitely different. I don't know necessarily if it would remain like that, because if that became the standard of the sport, where your obstacle efficiency was, 60-40, 50-50 with your running ability based off, how well you were going to do, then I think the athletes would adjust to that, and it would turn into a race again. Like right now, we're the athletes who are used to this format to where, we race in between, and then we make sure we get through obstacles, and then it's back to racing. But if that were the format, I think very quickly, just like you saw everybody in Spartan adapt as soon as they making it their day job, that nothing's a problem anymore. Everybody would adapt to the correct level of intensity in between, obstacles, and then also start tackling obstacles in even more impressive ways. So I don't know. I'm on board with Yuri on that mentality.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think it brings me to what my actual point is. I don't think I'm taking a stand on which race is doing it correctly. It's more of is there a responsibility of the races to adapt to the ability of their athletes?
Mm.
Because when I look at this, I think Spartan gets a lot of flack for not adapting over the years, or for not innovating. You hear that a lot. You're not innovating. You're not innovating. Well, they make millions of dollars. Like, clearly, they don't care about the elite race as much as they do the open wave, and that's great. But the second thing is that they have made that races so much more difficult when they first started. I did my first race in 2011. From 2011 till now, and if the race courses right now were in 2011 and 12, half the people wouldn't have finished the course.
Mm.
Like, I failed 6 or 7 obstacles. It's gotten harder, but we've gotten better faster than it's gotten harder. And so it kind of brings you to that. Does the course need to change based off the level of competition? To me, it's not much different than the NBA saying, you know what, the volume of three-point shooting has just skyrocketed over the last couple of years, and percentage has actually risen with that. We need to now move the three-point line back because it's not challenging. Is that fair to say you're too good at shooting threes? We need to move it back? Or the NFL saying, place kickers are just too accurate on extra points. And so they actually moved extra point line back. And that got a lot of blowback. Some people liked it, some didn't. But do we need to raise the rims in the NBA? Do we need to move the mound in Major League Baseball because there's too many strikeouts? Is it on the organization to make it more difficult to appease people that used to struggle? Like, at what point are you changing it just because people got good at what you're offering? And at what point do you innovate in order to keep the sport fresh? And I don't have a take either way. I truly don't know. But I'm curious to what your take is, Benny and Yuri.
Yuri, I'll let you mull that over because you look like you're still mulling. I had a lot of thoughts that came up. My first idea is this on a very broad level view, I think depends on what country you're in. Because in a capitalist country like ours, these companies are their businesses first. And so if they don't, they're going to lose participants. And then, it is on them because people will spend their money elsewhere. Now, obviously, that's not exactly panning out with Spartan because they definitely have their finger on the trigger with exactly what the masses are wanting. And to hell with the elites. But I think it depends.
The opposite. We've seen races that do innovate go under because they innovate based off the elite field and that alienates the open field. Right.
So I think what Spartan has done very well is essentially, I'm not going to say ignore the elites. They have the best competitive coverage and, all that blah, blah, blah stuff. But as far as the format of the race, it is definitely designed for the masses to hit a certain percentage of failure to success rate to keep people coming back. Not like Battle Frog, where it was like everyone was failing, so nobody came back. So I think they understand that their responsibility first is to remaining a business that doesn't go under, so that if they do have long-term goals to become a sport entity that does not, it's not at the whims of the amount of signups they have, then maybe they can develop other goals or aspirations to fit the different format. But they have to make sure that they have a strong foundation before they do anything like that. So I don't think we're going to see anything drastic from Spartan for quite a while until more big sponsors jump on.
And is there a responsibility to keep a certain level of failure in the elite field?
We're such a new sport that it's in a different sport that the closest thing I can think of that compares is CrossFit. And CrossFit is extremely versatile. Every single one of their competitions is different. They just make up workouts on the spot. And they're like, all right, we're going to do a freaking cycling race today at the games, whatever. So in the closest sport I can think of,
I would say they're very far from us, though, because they're not an endurance sport.
Well, that's true.
Changing the height of the steeplechase every single Olympics as people got faster in order to keep the times, the world records in line with previous years, or changing or making triathletes add weight to their bikes each year so that they don't keep breaking the world record split every year.
No, I don't think so on sports like that, just because part of the beauty and the amazingness of sport is watching the advancement of human capability. Like with Roger Bannister, it was the same track that everyone's running on forever, but we saw times do this, get faster and faster and faster. And it's still just as fascinating to run around a track in a circle. They're just doing it faster and faster. But those are fixed races. Like you don't, a track is still a track. They're not like, all right, everyone's running 400 meters too fast. Let's make it 410 meters. But our sport is not like that. Every single course, even if you go back to Big Bear the next week, it's going to be a slightly different course. You can't possibly control all the variables in nature and everything. So I think because the nature of our event is not a, refined, confined environment that you can execute exactly the same thing every time, I don't think, I think we do have the ability, and I don't know about the responsibility or should of, but the closest thing I can think of as far as the structure of a race, or a sport, even though it's a very different style of competition, is CrossFit, and they're constantly evolving and changing. And again, we're all very young sports, so maybe 20 years from now, somebody realizes a different way to format it. But Yuri, I don't know, what do you think?
Well, I had a couple ideas about this, but I do want to hit up one thing that I've thought about for a while that you just mentioned. One thing I noticed that a lot of people are drawn on, especially online, it seems like, is when they post, "Oh, I just beat my time in a super by 10 minutes." But like you said, everything. How can you compare one race to another? I almost feel like that's what OCR needs to go to sometimes, is like getting a format where it's the same every single time, so that people can differentiate, like, oh, okay, I am improving, I did get faster, or I did beat this obstacle. I'm not sure. So I don't know if that's in the future of OCR or if that should be looked at, because it's pretty hard to compare running the same distance over different terrain, different obstacles, different obstacle sequence.
Yeah. That's a really good point, because kind of almost to the opposite of what I said, we get to see human advancement on a track because the track stays the same, even though the humans get fat. But our events are always different. The only way we know everyone's getting more fit is we look at their training and their numbers and their training logs and things like that. But it's like, well, who knows how fast 32 minutes on the Conquer the Gauntlet course was in Dallas? Like,
yeah, it's like it might have been good, it might have been awful. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
So if they kept that same course every single year, I guess you can compare it, but even then, like you said, the temperature was so hot on Saturday, it might be cool next year. I mean,
right.
the river
beat down paths. The paths would change.
Yeah, right. The paths would change, and that's ever changing.
I know.
OCR, what it turns into is OCR. The only way to really accurately compare is position, or time based, or percentage of time based off winner. Yeah. And that leads people directly to, if I don't get X position, I'm not satisfied.
Right. And that's
a tough one.
The whole thing of like, winning is an illusion, or placing in a certain spot is an illusion. Well, it's just a matter of who shows up in that race.
Right.
You're racing against people who aren't good, and winning, who cares? But if you're racing against the top 10 people in the world and you get number 9, hey, that's awesome. So it's just. But anyways, back to the first part, Brakken's question. I've never thought about it like that, but you're absolutely right about. I don't keep up with basketball or baseball, but the football, moving the field goal back, I almost feel like we are improving on so quickly that I feel like that's what we need to do. I've talked to Savage several times about making a male lane elite and a female on like a rig. And so like 3 or 4 lanes for the male elites, but then over time you start changing the rig so that it's open wave. So it's more compatible for a beginner or even a moderate person. It's not the elite. So you can change the rig actually as the race is going on. So the elite can be challenged, but then you change it so that the open wave can also be challenged, but there's still that failure rate that is still only about 50% or 70%.
What's unfortunate is so many of these great ideas have been tried out, but they've been tried out by a company that went under. And so people think, oh, well, Battle Frog did that and it didn't work. Well, it's like, okay, well, that may or may not be the reason they went under. I think that's fantastic.
For a couple of reasons, unfortunately.
Well, there were many reasons.
So Yuri actually basically just voiced my actual opinion. So I played devil's advocate this entire time, but my actual personal stance on this is that races, definitely in this young age of the sport, need to keep making things more difficult. And I think, and I've been saying for a long time, it's falling on deaf ears currently, but I think Spartan is the one race that has the pocketbook and the number of people on course to make a pro lane. And I would love to see pro lane versus the open lane. And you could have several lanes of rigs that are, they have half the number of objects or twice the reach on monkey bars.
Exactly. That's all you have to change is just little changes, like little distances, or maybe not put in a knot in a rope. I mean, just something so simple that can be fixed very easily once an hour has gone by.
And Spartan already has these percentages that some of their course designers in the past have played off of, where they're trying to hit X number of failures on spear throw and X percent of failures on rig. And if they hit this X number of percent, they found that challenges the open waves enough, but still brings people back. And maybe they already do, but I'd love to see them have that standard for elite as well, where as long as we're having 10% of our elite field failing this or 15% failing this, we're good. But as soon as we get under that, we know that it's time. The sport has caught up. We need to re-challenge. And I think it's very, very doable. I think that we run into that bias of our own opinion, where since none of us 4 or us 3 are currently the fastest runner in OCR, we will always be challenged. Like, you just want it to be better for you. But I'm with you guys. I believe that it is obstacle course racing and that it should always be challenging, that people should never be able to say, well, all the failable obstacles are done now. Spear's done, rig's done, twister's done. No one's fallen off monkey bars. So we're 6 miles into a 13-mile race. everything failable is behind us. We know it's essentially over now because it's just going to be a foot race from here on. I don't think people should feel that until like the last quarter mile. And I don't think there should be massive gaps in the race where, well, there's nothing failable for the next 4 miles. I believe there should always be that twinge of fear in the back of your mind. Like, this is going to be tough. I can race hard. I know I can't slip up in any way.
Right. And that's almost a strategy where it's like, should I go really hard right now and risk filling the obstacle, or should I hold back just a little bit, or where am I in the race, or should I try to catch somebody?
I don't believe that we should be jogging, trying to shake our arms out in order so that we don't have to wait 40 minutes on the next obstacle. But I think that should always be in the back of our mind that I might be in trouble.
Well, with the competition the way it is, I don't think I would not have the option of doing that. If I'm trying to run you down, then I'm not going to have an option of like trying to jog and get my arms ready. I'm going to be all out trying to just catch you. I think that's where competition kind of makes up for the lack of obstacle intensity or whatever you have.
And that's something that I've believed for a while. I always say it was steeplechasing. The obstacles were too easy. I say, well, if you run hard enough in between, everything's hard. But to an extent, some things like rigs, monkey bars will never be hard no matter how tired you are. And so different things have to come into play. So that brings me to part 2 of my derailing this conversation. Beni has talked a lot about how he really wishes some of the elite men would come over to conquer the gauntlet in races like that because he'd like to see them exposed. And my take to Beni has always been, when he says certain top guys just aren't that good at obstacles, is that they're way better than they show. They're just running so fast that they don't take chances on obstacles and they don't have to do anything crazy. But that a lot of the top guys are probably crazy obstacle people. They just don't ever need to show it. And because everyone is redlining at the top, no one's flashing crazy obstacle moves until you really need it. So you coming in to conquer the gauntlet and Air Force Ken coming in, what was your take on it? Is it the type of thing that's going to shake a lot of people up? Or is it just kind of like, it's difficult, but you're pretty confident that a lot of the top guys would make it through just fine?
In Dallas, I would say most people would be just about fine. But the one that Beni ran, man, he looks so mad. Are you mad, Beni?
I'm not. Sorry. You know what? I'm pissed that my stupid background keeps falling down, so I just ripped it down. But no, I'm not. Sorry. I have like a bad resting bitch face sometimes. I'll just post up here like this.
The one that you ran at Tulsa?
Yeah, it was Tulsa.
I looked up videos of that, and that rig that would have exposed a lot of people, I think. That was just on a new level of difficulty, obstacle-wise. But as far as the elites go in Spartan, I don't know Johnny, but I know Atkins and Woods. And Woods 2 years ago was extremely fast, but he was not obstacle proficient, and he has improved. He's worked on his rock climbing and grip, and he is pretty good at obstacles now. I will admit, like, he's not only fast, but he's gotten to the point that I don't think he worries about a lot of obstacles unless they're really tough, and that would be a rig like at Wichita. So I think it just depends on the race. Dallas this past weekend, I don't think it would have done anything. I don't think it had the challenging aspect that Conquer the Gauntlet usually has or is described to have.
Were you disappointed?
Not
in the race. Were you disappointed not to be challenged?
Yeah, that's what I took it as. A little bit. And that's just, I think, because you can only be disappointed because you have such high expectations. And I had just the rig, I was just expecting a lot more. I was expecting everyone to end up basically there, and we us all trying to work together, trying to figure out how to beat it. But the obstacles themselves, like Smooth Criminal, was a lot of fun.
Right?
On was fun. A lot of the balance beams, I thought the slack line, I thought that was going to be a lot longer. It was only maybe 10
feet. Would this
feet.
course have been different wet? Would that have been a game changer?
What would have?
Yes.
Would have been wet or raining?
Yes, absolutely. I think Smooth Criminal would have been the killer there.
Because Spartan, we can say that when it pours, the vast majority of people still make it through the vast majority of obstacles. It definitely gets difficult, but like Twister is still, every male should complete Twister no matter how bad the conditions are. Beater, every male should complete it. Olympus, every male should complete it. You know, rigs sometimes get tricky. Monkey bars, I think, are actually tougher than a lot of those with the big round grips and the wide reaches sometimes if it's wet or muddy. But for the most part, even in the worst conditions, the majority of the field still gets through. So I think that's the sign of a nasty course, when water takes it from tough to destructive.
I would add cold into that. Like,
cold will change anything terrible.
Yeah, it is just cold is my worst one. I can deal with wet and muddy most of the time, but when it's like below 40 degrees, that's when
without wet or just cold alone.
Wet and cold is a bad combination. Yeah. I mean, that's never good. But I would choose wet over cold.
Yuri, what about the Tarzan swing, that one nunchuck grip that you basically couldn't skip unless you were willing to do a drastic, dive thing? What about that when it would have been wet? That would have been almost impossible.
I don't think the nunchucks at the Conquer the Gauntlet were hard.
No, I'm saying wet.
I mean, even wet, they seem to have a little bit of grip, and then they had the ends attached to them. And I have it set up at home where I just have PVC pipe.
Okay.
When it gets wet, it's
right.
It's impossible.
Well, that PVC pipe. That was basically, not to keep harping on Tulsa, but like there were 3 distinct points in that rig that they had there that were completely failable. And there's a reason that Victor and I both failed it about 4 times. It's because first we learned the first spot that was deceptively failable. Then we learned the second spot after we got past the first one, and that was failable. And the second spot was this giant PVC pipe that was in the shape of like a staple facing up. And it would slam up and down. It would pivot, but it was this big. Like it was a huge PVC pipe. And so you had to transition to that hanging PVC staple-shaped pipe from a unstable bridge, which is a horrible thing to have to kip and launch off of, because the whole thing is swinging and you have to launch at exactly the right time. And it was up. So if you couldn't get at least here on the pipe with both arms, you were screwed. And so, and after you failed once, you're soaking wet. And so now you're grabbing PVC pipe with soaking wet. The only way I was able to get through was I finally said, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this again. And I rolled around in the weeds and ripped the living crap out of my arms just to dry it on the grass and everything, so that this part wouldn't be wet, so it would actually grab it. So yeah, anytime a race throws in PVC pipe, well, first of all, they're a pretty low budget race, and second, they're looking to wreck you.
Yeah, PVC pipe is cheap, and it makes everything a little bit more difficult.
Yeah,
that's commitment right there.
This course.
Body.
Sorry,
that's dedication.
Well, that had never happened to me in my entire time doing obstacle racing. Like I was so pissed, and they were like, I'll admit that I never notice like people. Well, no, I like high five and stuff, but I kind of zoned it out for the most part. But I became hyper aware of the amount of Facebook Live cameras going on because I wasn't even racing anymore. I was just sitting there. My heart rate was at like 100 or something. I was just chilling, waiting in line. And I was just so mad because that was the first time I'd ever been taken out of a race. Like even if you fail an obstacle once, usually it's either you hit the burpees and you go, or you get up quickly and you do it again. And then you usually get it on the second time. That was the only time I've ever just been like, this isn't even a race anymore. Like I've been here for 30 minutes. This is so dumb.
Yeah. And with obstacle completion, that's going to happen. I mean, my first time was South Carolina Battle Frog in 2015.
Sure.
Sure. I'm not paying attention. But yeah, it was rainy and cold, and it was the second lap, and the monkey bars were last. And monkeys bars is like no big deal, and everyone was failing them. And I think I just sat there at the very end. This was like after 2 hours of racing in the cold and wet. And like I sat there for 10 minutes because I finally got across them by chicken winging it. But that got to the point, like you said, it was like it wasn't even about racing anymore. It was about beating the obstacle.
Yeah.
It was sad at one point because it was like, well, I'm not racing. But once I completed it, the feeling of satisfaction was much better than winning a race or running all out. It was just like, I beat that obstacle. I beat the thing that I didn't think I could do.
Huh. So. That's interesting. You must have gone into that with a different mentality than I did, because I was just angry. I was not like, when I left it, I was not like, yeah, good job, Benny. I was like, what was that? There's no way I'm going to catch these guys. They're 30 minutes ahead of me. I was being a little baby about it. So did you also, like, were you also in the front and you knew you were winning, or were you just at that point like, I don't care about the race, I just want to beat this thing?
Like nobody knew where they were anymore.
Yeah, after that amount of running, like nobody, and so many people had dropped. Yeah, Atkins had the lead. I think him and Woods ran together in the lead for a little bit, and I stayed in third for a while. And then Woods dropped like 5 miles into the race. Again, this is 2015.
Right.
But I don't really remember where everybody was. I just, it was all about just completing the race and getting my band and keeping my band at that point.
Huh. Man, I've never been, I guess I just had too much expectation that for me to struggle on an obstacle, maybe I had so much ego thinking I'm Mr. Obstacle Man, there's no way I'm going to fail, that it was just like an anger, like, come on, you're supposed to be the guy who can do all these obstacles. Maybe that's what that was about.
I think over the years I've learned, especially with American Ninja Warrior, when I went to Vegas and fell on stage 1, I was so disappointed with myself because it was such an easy obstacle. I was actually looking past it. I wasn't focused on the obstacle at the time. And I remember I got done and I was just really disappointed. And Ryan Stratus, who I'd become friends with, but he was just like, dude, don't worry about it. Everybody falls. Don't worry. Everyone falls. And that just kind of resonated with me, the fact that like there is an obstacle that no one can beat. Like everyone is going to fail at one point or another. It's just a matter of how you're going to take it. So that kind of changed my mentality of I will never think that I'm obstacle free, or I will never be like, oh, I got all these obstacles, I'm fine. Yeah. No, there's always an obstacle that can make you feel like a banger, a beginner. Yeah, humble you. That's good.
That's interesting, because usually it's easy to get wrapped into the thought of, you know, if you want to beat something, you got to be confident. You got to think, I'm going to own this. I'm going to own this. But there's the other side of it where it's like, if you are aware, basically you don't underestimate your opponent, the obstacle, you're going to take it more seriously. Like, actually, you know what? I think this is my new approach, because Stairway to Heaven, never failed that stinking thing. But I got cocky on it, and I was like, yeah, whatever, I got this. And I started going up it last weekend at Conquer. And I get to the dismount point, and I'm just going so fast that I just completely miss the platform and fall into the water. And I'm like, what the crap? Because I wasn't taking it seriously. I was just like, oh, I got this thing. And then I don't know if I lost a position from that, but any chance I had at regaining, I think it was Ashton in front of me, was completely gone at that point, because it was right at the end of the race. So
that's what I learned is I failed an obstacle that I was not focused on, that I was like, oh, this is an easy one, I'm not even worried about this. I'm thinking about the next obstacle. And from then on, it's like I focus on whatever I'm doing at that time. Like whatever obstacle it is, it may seem easy. Yeah, that's the one I'm going to fail, because I'm like that. I'm thinking ahead, so I need to calm down, think about what I'm doing right now, and then move on from there.
Bracken's going to attempt to put a stamp on this as derailing, but I promise this comes back around to the point we're making here.
No, I derailed. You have free reign.
No, I meant with what I'm about to say. Yuri, have you ever, like, wait, I see you going like this. Do you need a second?
No.
Oh, no, you're good. Okay. Have you ever, this will be funny because Carly's in the room. Have you ever done a competition or like gone on a run or something while you were like using pot to like help you focus or something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have to do drug testing and alcohol testing, and we can't do anything.
Wow, you both sound so sad about that too.
I can't take NyQuil.
It would mellow him
Like,
out so much.
I can't do anything.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I just thought about that because I was thinking about, I don't know, different ways of staying in the moment and focused on things, because I do that. I was doing that all throughout the race on Saturday with you guys, was thinking about the course map. Like as soon as I saw you guys gap me after Pegatron, I was thinking, okay, what's failable? I know Tarzan's swing. Basically, I was thinking about the race and strategy instead of focusing on exactly what I was doing and having taken care of all of that before the race and gone into it knowing my strategy. So I don't know. I was just thinking about different techniques to assist with, I don't know, staying in the moment or something. But okay, no marijuana for Yuri and Carly.
No,
No.
nothing.
That was your
Eat
first
a lot of money, it's good.
guess? Was that maybe we should smoke weed before we race? To stay
If it was
first option?
it literally was, but since unfortunately
Not mental, like not rehashing lines. Like,
no, dude, I've already gone down that route with everything. I'm thinking of new things. I've already thought about like yoga and meditation and getting, prep before. I'm trying new stuff, but unfortunately you can't have THC in your system while you're competing. So that will never happen for me, unfortunately. Oh, grit games. They don't test. Ooh, let's do it at the grit games, Bracken.
You can't have that in your blood system when you race?
No, you can't. You can't have marijuana or THC. You can't use it during performance. It's banned by USADA for sports performance, which is hilarious.
Enhancer?
Huh?
Like it helps people train, or what does it do?
Well, no, it's not a performance enhancing banned substance. It's just a banned substance. So the jury's out on all the reasoning because it's not a drug that people can experiment on like a huge basis. So nobody can put a stamp down and say it does exactly this for performance and it does exactly this for recovery. So I couldn't tell you all the reasons exactly why, but I know that I've tried a couple.
Because it was illegal. It's the same as cocaine or anything else. Now that it's been legalized in certain areas, it's not legal everywhere, and they have not seen any evidence on their end or whatever their agenda is to update it to legal.
Okay, that's okay.
So
That's
it's not considered a performance enhancer; it's considered a banned substance.
It's just a okay.
Yeah,
that's what I was talking about. Is it's like it's kind of, I know in certain areas, but that makes sense.
Yeah, is it lemon peel on there because it's like a masking agent or something?
It would have to be in certain quantities.
Oh, okay. Because
I don't think you can test positive for lemon peel, but you can probably test positive for whatever compound in there is a masking agent.
well, right, but I don't know what that is. I just remember seeing the word lemon peel in there somewhere and thinking, "What the hell?" But I don't remember.
But no, I can't speak to that.
Oh. Bracken, you're supposed to know everything. Yuri, why are you so fit? Like, what was your background? Were you a track athlete in college? Have you just, why are you so fit? Looks at Carly, why am I so fit?
What is your background?
I don't think I'm very fit.
Or savage.
I don't think I'm very fast either. I mean, I didn't run in college. I wish I had. But the only thing I've done most of my life is martial arts.
Really? What kind?
Taekwondo, Hapkido, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
Yeah, they're fun.
You ever been choked out?
Yes.
Ooh, that's fun.
It actually kind of
not in the way you've been
very,
choked out.
very humbling.
So, what was that, Bracken?
Probably not in the same way that you found fun when you were.
Hey, asphyxiation has its uses in all different ways, my friend.
Oh, walking down that fast.
Why do I always get thrown down this tunnel? Like, I'm the one that gets picked on with all the weird pervy stuff. Like, it's all Hunter's fault. Hunter's the one who labeled me like the weird mud rustling naked something. Like, I'm clean. I'm straight edge.
The label sticks if you embody it, right?
Wait a second.
The label sticks if you embody that label.
I asked this question.
A naked wrestling thing on you, it doesn't stick unless there are active internet sites that have you wrestling semi-naked.
Yeah, but not naked.
Hunter didn't superimpose those images.
That is true, and I'm not complaining. It's just interesting.
I can't blame Hunter that I'm stereotypically or stereotyped as a bald person.
That is not the same because I have never wrestled somebody naked in the mud, so it's not the same.
I mean, Crisco, mud, whatever.
No Crisco, and we were not naked. All right.
Anyway, back to MMA. Yuri, if OCR at OCR Worlds this year, they just changed it to hand-to-hand combat, and they created weight classes rather than pro, age group, and open. In your weight class, could you be world champ?
Like just in OCR?
No.
Think
The entire OCR Worlds field shows up to the start line, but instead of racing, they just it's just fighting. It's just MMA in a cage or a ring, doesn't really matter. But they keep weight classes, and so you have to essentially your weight class is anyone in your weight class in the sport of OCR. Would you be a world champ at OCR Worlds this year?
Over the years of fighting, I've definitely learned that you can get beat by anyone, and you never overestimate or underestimate anyone.
Okay, let's make it more politically correct then. Would your odds be greater in hand-to-hand combat or obstacle course racing against the current field of OCR?
Hand-to-hand combat.
All right, I like that.
That's awesome. What's your weight class? How much do you weigh?
I'm 145.
Oh,
I
so I'm
fought 139.
dang. Wait, so where does that class end?
It depends on what category or what fighting segment you're doing.
You said you fought 139?
Yeah, that was my last one when I fought.
What discipline did you fight, and how many fights did you have?
I guess it'd be mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an amateur record?
I think it's like 3-2.
Okay. Not I think. Come on. Every runner knows their PR. Every fighter knows their record.
Like,
All followers of 3 start losing information.
honestly, like, yeah, she is right. I mean, I'm not going to blame it on that. But after 2013, when we had Emory, my memory has gone down drastically.
I can attest to that being true.
But,
I'm saying.
but honestly, like, the records, there's so many different records of like, well, my wrestling record is this, and my jiu-jitsu record's this, and the MMA record and Taekwondo, and like, there's so many different records that you really just start, like, it doesn't even matter anymore. It's really.
So you've done jiu-jitsu tournaments?
Yes.
Gi or no gi?
I do it no gi. I don't believe in choking out with a gi. Like, if we wore a gi or a uniform, we call it a uniform.
I'm just picturing you guys covered in a butter-like substance. What is ghee?
See, that's where you get that right there. That's where you naked.
I don't know why people keep thinking I wrestle people in butter.
That's first thing your mind goes to.
Okay, well,
Official wardrobe of jiu-jitsu. It's that it looks like it's what you picture when you think Karate Kid when they tie their belt around their bathrobe.
okay. I was in Taekwondo. I'm a purple belt, so you know.
Oh, you were American Taekwondo.
Dude, the word is Taekwondo. That doesn't sound very American to me. I don't know what the difference is. Plus, I was a purple belt when I was like 14. I don't remember a single thing from the kata except for ha! That's all I need to take you out, Yuri.
Well, Yuri, that's interesting that you have that. Oh, we had Thomas Van Tonder on, and he's a black belt in kickboxing from South Africa.
Good, yeah.
But he's like 190 pounds, so he's not in your weight class.
Honestly, like, I found weight classes to be, I mean, they are important, but when it came down to like challenges and everything, most of the time I wrestled and fought up because not only were they stronger, but like it comes down to a lot of strategy where I'm faster, but they're stronger. So it's kind of like, how am I going to fight this guy? If I get close to him and if they get me in a grip, then I'm done. But if I can stay on my feet and keep my distance, I'm better with my legs. And if I can get behind him and quicker, then I can get out of a lot of things.
I'd love to watch.
What?
Love to watch you fight Atkins.
Atkins would just
those
get
are the kind of fights that people on paper sound great, but in reality don't make any sense. How much of an animal somebody is if they don't have combat training, it's not a fight.
Right.
However, Atkins has wrestling experience. They could wrestle.
No, I was just watching. I literally knew nothing about his wrestling background. I wasn't even thinking about his fitness level. Just thinking about what a genteel Canadian he is, and to watch him get all scrappy and everything.
He was a very high level wrestler.
Really, I did not. I would love to watch him and Hunter wrestle now.
I'm fairly certain he was a youth national level wrestler in Canada.
Holy cow, man! What has that guy not done?
Define youth. What's youth?
I don't know. I'm not going to say something that I can't back up. But Cody Moat was multi.
Oh, yeah. He's a wrestler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In high school.
I
And I
heard
think
he
he
was
wrestled.
good.
I don't know if he wrestled collegiately or not.
Now, Yuri, if you had to guess about a secret throwdown that is actually on camera, so it's not so secret, that happened a few years ago between your friendly neighborhood obstacle dominator hosts, who do you think won?
Can we explain what the throwdown was?
No. Hold on. We were wrestling. Who won?
We weren't wrestling.
Is this?
We were Benny and Jack Bauer were training for Broken Skull. We each had 2 Velcro straps around our ankles, and you were trying to get the straps off each other's ankles.
Right.
We weren't wrestling.
Who got those straps? What? You had to use wrestling to get the straps off. Come on, Bracken, don't split hairs.
Well, yeah, you had to, but wrestling didn't win it. Sneaky
Yeah.
little won it.
You say sneaky little foot move? Is that what you said?
It has to do with a lot of takedowns and stuff. We use those in training.
Which is a part of freaking wrestling, bro.
It's part of wrestling, but it's not, I would say, the majority of wrestling.
So we have on the schedule a throwdown with all the other podcasts. It's not quite on the schedule, but I'm going to fake it till I make it, and everyone's going to show up. We're going to do battle at Lake Tahoe, Spartan One Championships. Maybe. We'll see. And I think we're going to have to roll into all of that, a rematch with Mr. Bracken, I have quads for days, Crocker.
Are you guys going to do it before the race or after the race?
Oh, definitely after. That would not be nice.
I'm running the Ultra Beast, and I'm going to cramp up if I move afterwards.
Oh, well, I was saying
Challenge.
after because it's not nearly as important as an Ultra Beast, but it doesn't have to happen at Tahoe. It's kind of a crap time to do physical challenges because everyone's dead, especially because I'm going to be fresh because I'm not doing anything. So, well.
Now that we've established that you are a deadly man, you have no other athletic background than martial arts?
I played Little League Baseball one year. So
How did you find out that you had some talent for endurance running?
Yeah. I ran cross country in high school, but it was awful.
Really?
Like our coach was a Spanish teacher, and he had no idea what he was doing. So
Oh, no.
it was literally like he would just go run 4 miles today. Good job. All right, go run 5 miles today.
So how'd you get from that to you now? What was that process like?
He married me.
I love this. Every time we interview somebody and their spouse is in the background, their spouse is like cloak and dagger trying to sneak around. Carly's like, hey, guys.
So Carly incepted endurance into you?
I actually did that to her. Thank you. She is running a half marathon on Sunday or Saturday.
Good luck, Carly.
But officially, I have the harder job on record. I have to watch 3 girls.
I know.
And that is a tough job.
Yeah. So how did you become a runner? What was that process like?
See, this is where it comes into effect of like when I want to ask you questions, because I still don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to consider myself a runner.
Knowledge has nothing to do with it, dude. Okay, hold on. We need to make this clear, and maybe this will help. You are, whether you think you are or not, a dominant runner in our sport. I don't care what your numbers are on the track compared to other purist runners. The point is, you are one of the better runners and obstacle racers in an endurance sport right now. That's not even a question. So how did you get from I wrestle and fight people to I can run pretty fast? Did you just start running a bunch of miles? What?
All right.
Do you want me to? Okay.
Yeah, Carly thinks she has the perfect answer.
I know his answer. He started the running. It was a grief process. That's how you got into this.
But that's not how I got.
You got into it, and then it worked for you, and you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
in that sense,
really what it was.
yeah, like in January of 2013, trying to get over my mom, like I just started walking the dogs, and that turned into like walking 2 miles, walking 3 miles, and that turned into jogging a mile, jogging 2 miles, and like it just turned into running 4 or 5 miles, and then started running to run faster. Yeah. So I'd never run a 10K, and I signed up for that in March or something in a local race. No, the Leprechaun. In my hometown, where I live, and my time was awful, but it was very painful because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't train properly for it, obviously. But it just kept on going.
It was a challenge, and you like it.
It was a challenge, yeah. And I do like a challenge. I always like a challenge.
From that time, when you were walking, jogging your dog, until your first time on course, realizing I can run with some pretty good people, how long did that take? Couldn't have been more than 2 years.
2 months.
Who was my first?
14. The superhero scramble in Florida.
Oh yeah, it was against you.
Yeah.
In January of 2014.
Superhero scramble in Miami.
Oh.
So you were the guy that ran with goggles around your neck?
No, that was no, it was the guy who got 5th or 6th or something.
So you were the guy right behind him, right on us for the first 4 miles of that race.
Yeah, I don't know who that was, but I know it was Hobie, then you, or you guys were you were the elites. I was just trying to stay with, honestly, Majida and what's that other guy's name? The really young guy who
Alex Valenis.
Yes, who knows everything about running. Man, that guy. I wish I knew half of what he knew or knows. But yeah, that was the first one I think I would consider running against top guys.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So it sounds like you came on here looking to talk training a little bit.
Yes.
So why don't you give us a snapshot of what a typical week or month of training looks like for you, and then we'll start from there and we'll move up.
Well, good. Yeah, actually, this would be okay because I want you to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Thank you. Plug in my phone.
I lose you right in the middle of it.
So Sunday was a recovery run. I pushed the Emery and Ellie, the big girls, in a double stroller, 8 miles, at an easy pace. I think it was 8 miles in an hour. Monday was 10.5 miles in an hour and 10 minutes. Just another relaxed pace. Today was hill sprints. And I do hits almost every day. Usually like Murph. I did Murph yesterday. And then a hit on Sunday. Today was hill sprints. Tomorrow will be 12 to 13 miles long run, easy pace again. Thursday will be a tempo run, hopefully at 10.5 miles in an hour, just trying to keep that tempo with a hit. And then Friday will be my long run of 16 to 18 miles. And then Saturday's her half marathon, so I'm going to keep that as just a rest day. So do I need to
60 to 70 miles a week?
Sure.
You track volume at all?
I used to. I tracked my miles in 2017 because I wanted to get 1,000 in a year because I thought that was important. But
he doesn't run with a watch.
Yeah, I don't really run with a watch either.
A smartwatch.
Okay.
He doesn't.
She's trying to convert me, and I'm doing a decent job of it. I wear it every once in a while.
Yuri is one of these freaking Africans that is discovered by some random coach that happens to be driving through, and he's like, "This guy's just running to school, and he's running a 4:30 mile right now." No plan, just oh, I happen to be super fit.
It goes to show two things. One, you can't hide talent. The second is that any program, whether good, bad, or in the middle, is effective if it's done consistently.
Yeah.
Now, is it less effective or more effective based upon what's in it? Yeah, of course. But the best plan on the planet, if done sporadically, is not as good as a bad plan that's done consistently, assuming you remain healthy.
Well, what's consistency? Is that doing it every week, or is that doing it because I don't do a tempo run every week. A tempo run is maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then the long run is usually once a week. And the hill sprints are usually every 2 weeks. So should I be are sprints on the track more important? Should I be doing
Once you get down to that stuff, it's really nitpicking. The single greatest key to training is running often. If you can run easy and often, you're hitting like 80% of what you need out of training. And then if a couple times per week you're running more intensely, now you have the other, 20%, and you've got everything you need. And then from that point on, it's just determining what mix of those two is perfect for you. How often do you need to repeat things? How do you progress from hill sprints A to hill sprints Z by the end of the year, and tempo run A to tempo run Z? And how do you progress your volume from point A to point Z? But, all of those things are fine tuning. It sounds like inherently you've got a lot of the nuts and bolts correctly. You have a long run. You have lots of easy volume and mileage. And, if you're to the point where you can recover on an 8-mile double stroller run, you have a pretty darn good aerobic base built up. And that's after a race to do an 8-mile recovery run, pushing to not super small children. So lots of easy volume, not sporadic, but healthy small doses of intensity in a long run. That is pretty much the formula of every successful endurance athlete in history, outside of the outliers, the people who do a ton of speed work and not much volume. But for the most part, volume, quality work. That's it.
I feel like I did that like a year ago, where I was doing a lot of 30 to 40-minute workouts, but very intense. Like sprints, and then I would do like a hill run of just put it on 15% and run for 40 minutes, or I had a 5K 10%, and it's just, I felt like every day I was just trying to kill myself, and I wasn't seeing any improvement. So is that like, do you not want to do high
typically
cardio?
That gets you pretty fit and fast quickly, and you fall off really quickly too. It's just not sustainable.
Like burnout mentally or burnout physically?
Both.
You said 3 moderate to high intensity exercises that you did in the week following a race, which even if it wasn't a race, you said you had hill sprints, you had Murph, and then you had a tempo run, which
Murph, I was not doing it like as fast as I can. Like it was just like a warm-up jog, and then sets of 20 squats, 10 push-ups, and 5 pull-ups, and just do those over. And I mean, those
Murph is a strength workout with a warm-up and cool-down jog.
Right, and that's the way I took it. It's like it's more of a strength one, and like the running before and after were just like a warm-up, cool-down.
Gotcha. Okay, because it sounds like you're whether it be you are genetically a very resilient person, or the fact that you have increased to so much mileage in a healthy way. I mean, you've been basically healthy through all of this, right? As far as injuries and things.
In 26, at the end of 2015 through all of 2016, I had plantar fasciitis, and that was awful. I did the smart thing of running through that.
Did you like suddenly crank up your mileage, or did your mileage just catch up with you?
I honestly, I think I was just wearing the wrong shoes, because I finally
most of the time footwear is what does it.
Yeah, it did. She gave me new shoes, and like that changed everything. Like I was able to up my mileage, and running was fun again. It wasn't, every step wasn't painful.
Well, I mean,
planner don't understand how debilitating it is.
It was awful. I mean, I slept with that boot like every night, and it was just, sleeping's awful, like training's awful, walking hurts. Everything about PF is just awful.
Man. Well,
so when you talk tempo run, how do you go about doing one? Because tempo is one of those like I don't know, like just broad strokes terms that I think a lot of people use differently, and that's okay. But how do you set up a tempo run?
So a tempo run, this one I usually do on the treadmill. And I think it's just because, like, if I wore a watch or was more, I would probably do it outside, because it's mentally I don't like doing it on a treadmill. But I'll do like the first mile at 8.5, and then slowly move it up to 9.5, and then finally finish on 10. And then from about 20 to 50 minutes, I'll try to go from 10 to 11. And then the last 10 minutes, depending on how I feel, I might back it down to 10.5, or I might even push it up to 12. And then after an hour goes by, which at 10 miles or 10 and a half miles is usually my goal. between those two. And after that, I usually spend about 10 minutes or 15 minutes of very slow jogging or walk.
So it's a progression run where you work from moderate to fast.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. And what do your hill sprints look like?
The hill sprint workout that I did today is put it on 10%. Well, after warm up, put it on 10%, and usually around average about 11 miles per hour and 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off.
Okay. So 30-30 is a classic workout.
Yeah. And that one, I don't feel like that one's very mentally, but it hurts everything. Like I said, I mean, I could only do 6 pull-ups after I finished. I mean, it just hurts my arms, my quads.
Well, 11 miles per hour on 10% is flying.
Say what?
11 miles per hour on 10% is flying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can only do it for 30 seconds. I mean, that's just, it's
How
30
many
seconds. Today I got 14.
Okay.
The goal is always 10, and then everything after that is just icing on the cake. The most I've ever gotten is 16. But even then, I feel like maybe I don't feel like I'm doing it correctly if I get more than like 12 or 13, because I'm like, well, maybe I should have gone faster. Like maybe I should do 11.1 or 11.2. So it's kind of like the middle ground. Like you don't want to do too much, but you want to get just that right mix of speed and cardio.
It's interesting. That workout was originally designed as a VO2 max workout, which is really a lot closer to like a 2-mile race for most people. And so I've done that workout a decent amount. I don't know if I've ever gone less than 20 rounds. You know, it's usually 20 to 40 rounds I do, but I do it at more like 440 to 5 flat pace on flat. Whereas you're going closer to like 515 pace on 10% incline, which is like 420 pace, you know, or 415 pace on flat.
So I should slow down my pace and just.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the purpose of our workouts are vastly different. You are doing incredibly intense sprinting and then taking really, really short recovery. Whereas I'm doing fast, sustainable running with short recovery. So it's a totally different end of the spectrum. You're getting very high intensity where I'm working more restrained than that. Not that one's right or one's wrong, but I haven't personally tried such an intense version on such short rest before.
Well, then I guess that because there's so many different sprint workouts out there. I mean, you can do the 400, the 800, the mile. Even I know there's even like the 2-mile where you just go all out for 2 miles. So like, should you just switch them up every week and just kind of be like, okay, well, I'm going to do 12 400s with 100-meter rest in between this week, and then next week I'll do 800-meter sprints with 400-meter rest in between. Like, is there one that's better than them, or is it just good to switch them up?
They're all equal. It depends on what the purpose is. So the purpose of the workout drives whether you do it or not and what comes next. So if you are someone that really needs to work on your top end speed, your leg turnover, your efficiency, then doing work at really, really intense paces is a really good idea. And so that needs to be something, let's say you start with that 30-30 at 11 miles, 10%. Then the next natural progression would be to do more reps at the same pace, or longer reps at the same pace, or the same amount of reps at the same pace with shorter rest, something like that, or the same reps, same rest, faster pace. But either way, you're always increasing one of your variables throughout your progression. So it might be a 6-week block of doing really intense work, or it might be the opposite. Like you're saying, they might be doing 1,000-meter intervals, and those might start at 310 per 1,000 with 3-minute jog recovery. And over the course of your block of training, you might try to cut that down to 250, or you might try to keep it at 310 and cut your recovery in half, or keep it at 310 pace, but now extend it up to 1,200 meters, and then a mile, and then 2K, and then 2 mile, following a progression of workouts rather than hitting sprint workout, stamina workout, sprint workout, moderate workout, but, not sprinkling it in, taking the type you need to work on and seeing it through to the end of that.
How do you know what type to work on? Like, is it just measured of what kind of distance you're planning to race? Like if you're running a 10K as opposed to a half marathon?
Yeah. So the easiest way, a very simple way of looking at interval work is that you identify what your intended race pace is, and you work at that pace, you work at a little bit faster, and you work at a little bit slower. And those are your three primary intensities that you work at. The rest of your week can be comprised of easy and long running. And it's nice for our sport in that the vast majority of our running really centers right around 10K pace, or at least 10K intensity on the flats. Whether you're running a sprint or a super, you're rarely running much faster than 5K, and you're rarely running much slower than about like half marathon pace. Would you agree with that?
Like, do you mean between obstacles?
Yeah, when you hit the flats and you're on a good runnable section, the paces you're hitting there, or at least the corresponding efforts on broken terrain, you're like that first mile of a flat sprint, we're rarely running faster than 5K pace.
Yes. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
And we rarely run much slower than half marathon pace, sometimes marathon pace if it's a longer race or you're breaking down.
Yuri, a way that I saw it described, I was reading, I think it's Joe Rubio, or I don't know if his first name Joe Rubio's, I think it's a 1,500 meter, a short distance running guide. And in there, I'd heard this concept talked about a lot, but the way he said it is what drove it home for me, made it very clear, was that there's usually 3 variables to your track workouts, and you can mess with each one of them to change the stimulus on you. So like if I'm doing if I'm going to do 12 rounds of 400 meter repeats with the intent of increasing the amount of time that I can sustain a higher speed, then I can either start tweaking the distance. I can switch it to like a 600 meter with consistent 60-second rest in between each one, or you jog 100 meters in between, and you change the number of reps. You decrease it down to like 9 so that it equals roughly the same distance, but you're changing the stimulus on you because you're maintaining it for longer. And he talked about the percentage that you should be performing at. This is something I don't know how I never came across this, but every time I would go do 400 meter repeats or track repeats, it was, okay, I want to run at the pace that I can maintain just to barely survive through all of my reps. That meant it was just death the entire time. And I found out that that's not exactly, I mean, I'm sure that plays a role for a particular purpose, but for the purpose of most speed work and track intervals or track repeats, like 400, 600 meter repeats, it was, you need to find a percentage of, I don't know, like your mile time. And then there's a prescribed pace, like zone that you're supposed to be in. So like when I do 400 meter repeats, it's, what is it, Brakken? What percentage am I running of my mile time or something? You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm basing yours off generally your 3K or your 5K pace.
Okay. So it's a percentage of a certain baseline performance I've done. It's not just like go kill yourself for every single rep to the max.
Like 90% or 85%.
Yeah. I don't know what the percent is actually. Brakken?
I mean, the percent varies on what the intended, consequence of the workout is. If you're talking 400 or 600 meters at 60 seconds rest, you're not going to be running a very high percentage. But if you're doing 3 to 5 minute recovery, you're going to run a higher percentage. But kind of what I was talking about with the pacing is that if we believe that most OCR running centers around 10K pace, let's just say that's true for sake of argument. So let's say that that's just 5:30 per mile, 10K pace, 5:30 per mile for a given athlete. Then we want to work at that pace predominantly, or at least a good chunk of our quality days. So your intervals would be a lot of a right around 5:30 pace, but then you also have to have days that are a little faster than that. So maybe 5 flat to 5:10 pace, and then a little slower than that, 5:45 to 6 flat. And suddenly you have your 3 types of workouts. At 5:45 to 6, that's a pretty good tempo day. And suddenly you're talking tempo runs. Sustained continuous runs at slightly slower than race pace is a good tempo run. Working at race pace is pretty good for medium to long intervals, those 600s, 800s, 1000s, mile repeats. And then the faster than race pace is really good for those 30-second intervals, 60, 90 seconds, 200s, 400s, things like that. And then you can always mix multi-pace workouts in to hit multiple systems with fartleks or intervals. You might do 4x1000 at 10K, 4x600 at 3K, 4x400 at mile pace, something like that, where you hit multiple
So how often do you do these? I mean, you don't want to do all these in 1 week, right?
No, you definitely wouldn't. And for most athletes, you can get away with 2 or 3 quality workouts per week. So quality meaning something that you need recovery afterwards. So let's take your typical workouts. You have hills, you have intervals, and you have a tempo run. You could do hills Monday, tempo Thursday, interval Saturday. And that would be a pretty typical week for a road runner or a cross-country runner. Then you also have to fit a long run in there. Then you also have to fit in volume. You have to fit in strength work for OCR. And suddenly you get to this point where there's a lot of pieces in your week. And,
right.
And our sport has too many variables. What I found is that the simplest thing to do is to remove a day down and not try to jam it all in. So either to move up to an 8 or 9 day schedule rather than a 7, and then you can hit all of your components with the necessary rest in there, or alternate weeks. So you could say Tuesdays are my speed day. Saturdays are my longer day. Thursday is going to be kind of that moderate long run I'm going to do. Tuesday A, I'm working all tempo efforts. Next week, Tuesday B, I'm working my speed interval days. And you can rotate through those throughout a season. So you can run a progression of threshold runs and a progression of interval work concurrently, but they're not jamming up your week.
That sounds really hard.
Well, how are you scripting yours now? How are you progressing through workouts? Like you said you're running hills every other week, your tempos every other week or so. How does that sort itself out?
You mean like how do I plan everything out?
Yeah.
To be honest, like I don't really do that very often. I used to, even up to last year, I would plan everything out a month in advance. But now I'm to the point where like I plan maybe 3 days in advance because I felt like I was forcing myself. Okay, it's like today I have to do sprints, even if like my legs were not recovered or I did not feel like they were recovered. And it turned into a worthless workout where I would get done with it and be like, well, that was a waste of my time. I not only like feel disappointed with my performance, but my legs hurt even more now. So now I'm just kind of like, if I feel like I need a recovery run, then I'll do a recovery run. But if I feel a little bit better, then I'll do a tempo. And I think that also has to do with my work schedule. Tomorrow night, it's Wednesday, right? No, today's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday.
Yeah. So tomorrow I've got the day midnight shift. So I will go in and do a 12-mile run before I'll go in for work around 8 to 10 o'clock. Work from 10 to 6. And then usually that's when I'll try to do my tempo run is I come home, get the 2 big girls up, dress, get them breakfast. And I used to take the big one to school and then go to the gym. And that's when I would do my tempo run, which was challenging because I just got off work. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. But some days when I'm not feeling it, I would just be like, you know what? It's not happening today.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't plan as much as I used to, which I don't know if that's good or bad. Again, I don't know.
It can be both. I do your style of training relatively often, but I have structure to it. I kind of look at it like a carousel where I have this list of quality workouts I have to hit in the order I want to hit them in. But I prioritize my recovery in between. So let's say that my next quality workouts, my tempo run, the quality after that is intervals, and after that is long run. I know those are my next 3, and I have the progression of both of those 3 types scripted out over the course of the season, how I'd like to get to it. And the when I get to it is dependent on life. So I my week and I think, all right, Wednesday, Saturday, and next Tuesday are going to be my next 3 quality days. But if Tuesday opens up and I'm feeling good, I sub in that next up. The carousel moves down. Now, boom, I hit that Tuesday. And now I reset with, I know I need a recovery next. And the next available day where I'm feeling good, boom, I have a quality day. And I know these are my next 2. Now, which one can I hit in the time that I have today? That's the one I'm choosing. So you get to kind of like a la carte it in your life but you still have a scripted progression so that there's a purpose for every single workout you're doing.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about that. And that's what I feel like I do now. Now, I had one question before I forget. You said what I was doing on Thursday was a progressive run. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between a progressive run and a tempo run?
Tempo is a blanket term. It just means running. I mean, tempo literally means a certain pace, right? If you're talking, if you're talking music, tempo is just how often that's repeating. What cadence is it played at? What is the pace? And that just means a prescribed pace for a prescribed duration. So what people really mean is threshold run. So generally that's an anaerobic threshold run or an aerobic threshold run. In its truest sense of the word, it should be an effort that you can keep in a race right around an hour. For most people, it settles somewhere around between 15K and half marathon race pace is about that, where your heart rate is at a place where you are sipping, lactate, and you are not overcome with it. So you have your body is fully producing lactate, but at a rate that it can clear it out without further accumulation, where you tip over into the danger zone and you cannot clear it out fast enough, and then you pretty soon you burn out and crash. You stay below that line where you produce it and you cycle it out and you are good. So what that means is some people call it half marathon pace. Some people call it 15K pace. Some people call it a certain heart rate based off of your percent of your max heart rate. Some people, I like to think about it, if I didn't have any technology, breathing. I want to be breathing fast and never gasping. As soon as I start gasping and I get that burn in my stomach and in my hamstrings, I know I am definitely anaerobic at this point, and I'm on borrowed time. I can't complete this. If you're feeling fast and strong and you're working hard, but it's comfortably hard, you're probably right around that zone you're talking about.
I would say I would describe that as what I usually do is comfortably hard. Like it hurts, but I'm not breathing extremely hard.
Yep. You can't carry on a conversation, but muscle. You also aren't. You're right in there. Yeah.
I could talk to you, but I really don't want to.
Yeah. And you know what? Science has shown that on that line, that lactate threshold, whether you are right at it, a percent or two above or a percent or two below, the results are negligible. And so people make a big deal about, I'm 163 to 165. And it's great to be accurate, but it's also, you're going to be okay either side. If you're a little too fast, you're probably not going to last quite as long, but you're going to get the same, roughly 99% of the same benefits if you're right at it, right above, or right below. So I just typically err on below, because that way I can add some climbing afterwards, or I can move on and hit a long run if I need to the next day. It doesn't compromise my week, and I know I'm getting about the same effort. And it sounds like you self-regulate with that. You get on the treadmill, you're moving up your miles per hour, and when you get to 50 minutes, you're making your decision point. Maybe I'm going to tip over a little bit today, maybe I'm not, but either way, you're staying within yourself. So those threshold runs, you're within yourself, your interval days, you let it rip a little bit and spend some time in the pain cave. And all the rest of the time, you're just building up aerobic capacity. So whether or not you feel like you have the scientific knowledge to back it up, you have naturally, through your own biofeedback, settled into a pretty appropriate schedule. I would say the one thing you might not be having currently is a scripted progression from workout to workout.
Is that to just see if I've improved, or like to actually push myself each week?
Both.
It's to ride out the intended benefits of a workout. So doing a tempo run's great, doing hill workouts great, doing intervals are great, but you can maximize the potential benefits from each one by following a progression from one to the next, so that the stimulus continues to increase. You get your stimulus, you recover from it, now you've increased your resistance to it, and you bump that stimulus up slightly and do it more and more and more and more. And then over time, you are just super resistant to that stimulus. And if you've chosen the correct stimuluses that mirror your competition, in a race, you're more resistant to the work you have to do.
The way I saw exactly what he's talking about is for a long time I was doing workouts, and in general I was getting more fit, and I knew I was getting more fit, but I didn't really know exactly how, and I didn't know if I was getting as fit as fast as I could get fit. And when you script it out, you can clearly see the progression, and you, like he said, you're hitting a new stimulus level. So you're not just kind of maybe getting more fit across time. Just like, are you just getting used to the type of things you're doing and getting better at them? Or are you actually getting faster and getting stronger and more aerobically fit? And so when every few weeks your easy run goes up by half a mile, and then, a few weeks after that, you're running a mile and a half extra on each one of those runs, and you're at roughly the same heart rate zone you were, from months ago, you're pushing that stimulus boundaries, and you're just maximizing exactly how quickly you can get faster.
Well, when I was doing sprints, I did them for, I think, like 4 months straight. And I found that, like, yes, I after the end of 4 months, I could do them much easier, but my 5K time did not improve at all. Like, it almost was like, I felt like maybe I was just working only on sprints and getting better at those, but it was not helping me in all the aspects of running. So that's why I kind of like almost stopped doing sprints, because I felt like, well, I'm going through all this pain, and at the end it wasn't really that much pain. So I didn't know that. And the other thing I find is, like, I wanted to ask you guys actually about this too, but 1 week I can run a progressive run and run 10 miles an hour and be like, this was easy. And then the very next week, or 2 weeks after that, or 3 weeks after that, I can run it and just barely make it, and I feel like I'm almost dying.
Well, that's
does that do with like training, what I've done up to that, the previous 3 days, or is that nutrition?
That's you could say both of them, but that's part of the beauty of having scripted training and a log that you follow, because every single day of my week is there specifically to make sure that I am, of course, achieving the 80-20, getting better at developing my aerobic foundation while adding that sharpening edge with my quality intense workouts. But it's about making sure that I am recovered appropriately for each workout that I'm doing. So when you only map 3 days out into the future, sometimes you might lose track of exactly how recovered you are or should be for a quality workout. So for example, this morning I was supposed to go and do, it was one of my quality days, and I woke up feeling fantastic. I was all ready to go, but then I got on the track and I just felt like trash. Well, this was outside of the scripted thing. So I knew very clearly I'm always recovered on Tuesdays and I'm ready to go on Tuesdays. So if I'm not, it's not because of my training. It's because of some kind of sickness or something like that. It eliminated the question of, is it nutrition? Is it my training? I know that I'm a little bit sick right now because I should be fully recovered because I've been doing the same schedule for a while. So it allows you to know exactly, okay, well, I had a race on Saturday, so that means my intensity session on Tuesday I might tune it down a little bit for the Tuesday after the race, and I can bring it back fully up for my Saturday intensity. If that makes sense.
The other side to that, Yuri, is that like anything else in life, we just have days we're off. It's the same thing with training. Really, the only way to nail the vast majority of your training, just like perfectly every time, is to be doping. I think that's the easiest way to just always be on.
Well, then that's what I should do.
You're off, right? I mean, it's bulletproof. Like there are days at work you just make mistakes. There are days at night you just you're drifting off and you're falling asleep. There are times when you're typing, certain days your fingers fumble over the keys. And cardiovascularly, we are so dependent on other areas of our life like sleep and stress. And yeah, diet can play into it and things like that. But there are just days you're not going to be on. And it happens and it sucks and you just move on with it. And that's what's one of the great things about hitting intended intensities and paces for a threshold run in particular. I feel like that's where it really shows up. There are days where I know this breathing rate, the pace it should correspond with, and I can't today. But you still get the benefit by hitting that breathing rate because systemically your body doesn't know pace, it knows intensity.
Right.
If you're just off one day, and you're running 9.5 miles per hour on the treadmill instead of 10.5, but you're doing the same thing systemically, you are improving. Whereas if you're just trying to pound yourself into a pace no matter what, you might be over exceeding your bounds that day.
So just treat it as almost not a failure, but just like you're pushing it just in a different way for how you're feeling that day.
Yep. Yeah, you do what you have to do to get through. And those are on days when it's based around effort, pace is irrelevant. And on days when it's based around pace, then yeah, those crappy days suck a little bit more.
Not to lend confusion to a potential piece of clarity right there, but I wanted to ask a question, Brakken, specifically on what you just said, because this morning I decided to continue and finish the workout, but say, screw the pace. You know, I knew I was supposed to be running exactly within this 5-second range for each one of my reps, blah, blah, blah. Or for the pace I was supposed to be maintaining. But I was like, okay, no, I can tell that for some reason, the first lap on this track has felt like it's the end of the workout. So I know for some reason I'm not as prepared for this as I should be. So I'm going to just in general not care about the pace, only care about the intensity. But if you are starting a workout where it feels from the beginning like you feel at the end of it, couldn't that be an indicator of, hey, maybe you shouldn't do any intensity at all right now because either there's, you know, you've just acquired a bug and you're starting to get sick, or for some reason your central nervous system is completely fried at this point, so you would just be doing damage. It's kind of, I thought about this morning, like if I went to the gym and I had a planned workout that was this, but instead I brought all the weight down, the reps down, but I still worked out the same muscles that were burnt out essentially. Even though I've lowered the intensity, am I not effectively destroying that building process? Like I'm just applying the stimulus before it's recovered?
There's always two ways of looking at this. I know this sounds wishy-washy, but one side is to say there is never such thing as too much aerobic work. Bump back a day, go out, get another easy hour in, and go after it again tomorrow. That is never a bad choice. The other is to say, you're going to have bad feeling days on race day. You're going to have days where you're off in race. And so let's get used to getting out and just fighting the good fight and getting through it. And it's the beauty of a holistic season is that one workout just gets swept up in the tide. You don't have to nail every workout, but you can have days where you decide, I have to scrap the workout because it's just not happening. But there are also days where you're going to say, today's a grit day, and that's all there is to it. And I'm going to get mentally fitter today. More fit.
Do you ever risk more, like injury if you do that? If you try to push through the workout?
Well, sure, but if you're carrying a ton of baggage into the workout, you can risk that. But I personally have never had a day where I just felt like crap, pushed through it anyways, and got injured because of it. I've got injured if I've had a nagging injury that if I feel fatigued, it's different than if I feel foot pain. I'll run through discomfort. I'm not going to run through injury pain.
Yeah, and you're not going to
feel like you're getting sick. Yeah, you can avoid that. And if you feel like I'm just run down, then you can always make that call. Is today a toughness day, or is today a live to fight another day?
And you can, I think it takes one after the other and several repeated events to start flirting with overtraining or something like that. You might dig a temporary recovery hole where it's like, tomorrow maybe I'm supposed to go do this, and because I decided to push through today, I'm a little bit less prepared for tomorrow. But it's like, okay, I learned my lesson. Tomorrow, either take an off day or do something real chill, and then you're back at it a day later. So if you're doing that consistently and you're consistently showing up to sessions feeling like crap, then that's when you need to take a look and say, okay, something is too high intensity. I have high intensity days too much. My mileage is too much. That's when you start picking it apart.
So as much as I love scripted workouts, I also love fluidity. And I think that nothing exemplifies that more than the African running culture. There are these villages where they have these training groups. And we get together for a run with 2 or 3 guys, and we've got a group we're going for a run. In some of these villages, they have 50, 60, 70 people get together for a run. And what they show is the ability of the opposite of what we do in America a lot, which is where we say, here is our pace, here is the time, here are the number of reps we have to do, and that is considered a successful workout. In their village, the top guys go out with their plan, and the other people just hang on. And let's say that the top group is doing 12 by 1,000 at 250 per rep. Well, the top guy or two gets through 12. Second or third best guy gets through 8. Some people get through 4. Some people get through 3, and then they go on with their day. They either drop off and go back, do their cool down, and head back to the village, or they drop off after that pace and then get back on it and try to finish up at a more manageable pace. And so they have embraced this idea of putting in work at a high level and doing whatever they're capable on that day, rather than my day was ruined because the workout said 10 and I only got 6. Now, I think there's something powerful to that, to just knowing I'm working today and I'm getting work in. And again, having the whole season scope, you can absorb bad workouts and you can absorb days where, hey, I thought this was the pace I could have run. After 2, I had to take a mid-set break, reset, and now I'm going after something else. And I think it just reminds us that we can overplan sometimes too. And I think, again, it speaks to why you've had a lot of successes. Even if you think you may not be the most well-versed person in terms of training, you've stumbled upon or sorted out what works for you. You know you need a decent amount of running. You know you have to hit your workouts, but you're not a slave to doing them only on Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, or whatever it's going to be. And adaptability always wins out over rigidity.
Over what?
Virginity.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you say, Benny?
Virginity.
Virginity.
Always. Being flexible, fluid, these are all words that Brakken has said in the past few minutes. So that's where my mind is. But, Yuri, something that can actually help, there happens to be this guide. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's coming out in a few weeks. It might be called the Obstacle Dominator Training Guide. I don't know. Actually, literally, we don't know, because we're thinking about changing the name, because it's we've just been saying 3.0, 4.0. I don't know how late we're going to go, but it's coming out at the end of this month. And
we'd be happy to send you a complimentary guide.
Yes, we would.
It's designed. Ben Greenfield was just saying, what's your elevator pitch for this? Who is it designed for? Let's talk about it. Yuri, it is designed for you. It is designed for the athlete who wants a bit of advice and structure to their life without coaching. They don't want someone to tell them what to do every day. They don't want someone that they have to check in with. They want something they can look out and see, here's a scripted set of workouts. Here's a scripted set of thresholds. Here's a scripted set of long runs. Here's how I can tweak it based on my schedule. And now it's all on you. I'm ready today. Okay, I'm going to bump this up. I don't like this piece. I'll probably toss it away and do my own thing. But it has a season-long progression that you can plug and play as needed to fit your lifestyle without someone looking over your shoulder or controlling what you do. I have a midnight shift tonight. This isn't going to work, but I'm going to shuffle down the line.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. That's exactly what I would like to see.
Sweet, dude.
On the house, we'll send it to you, Yuri.
Look at that. It's a golden script smorgasbord of the best training sessions that you can do, and you can apply them however you want. Apply as needed.
Yeah.
Batteries not included. Yuri, we want to be respectful of your time, because I also know that you are an hour ahead of us and our time, because honestly, I'm getting kind of sick and tired talking to you, my friend.
I get
you getting there too?
No, not.
Oh, wait, what did you say?
People tell me that a lot.
No, nobody tells you that. You're too nice. There's no way anybody has ever said that to you. Maybe Carly, but that's it.
Yeah.
So where can we expect to see you next? Obviously, you're still in love with Savage, even though it's kind of a failing relationship at this point. But
it's
where should we see you next?
I'll be at a local race next Saturday in Alabama. It's Barbarian. They've been doing it for several years, so it's just a fun race.
Is that an obstacle race?
It is. Several of the very experienced OCR people are putting it on and put the obstacles, and over the years they've really improved it. It's a fun run. It's got some hills, it's got some challenges, and good obstacles.
Helps you love the sport again.
Yeah, it does. It makes me enjoy racing, doing one of those, because it's just it's challenging in its own way. It's got some terrain challenge, it's got some obstacle challenges, and then at one point, there's a waterfall swim, so I mean it's got some cool scenery. But after that, I think I'm off until I think we're driving up to Chicago for Savage at the end of July.
Okay.
So what's the date on that?
27th-ish.
I might. It's about 20 minutes from where I'm currently living. We're about to move, but
20 minutes. I'm driving 10 hours with 3 kids. Come on.
And your wife.
And my wife.
You said
here's the thing, Yuri. I have a little bit of PTSD from that course. He talks about how he's not a runner. Yuri wiped the course with me the last time I raced him.
That was one of those days where I was feeling really good.
I was relatively fit. Yeah, like I felt pretty fast. I felt pretty good heading into that. And my family came out and watched, and some of my aunt came out with my little cousins, and I showed up and I thought, like, this is it. And a quarter mile into the race, he was already 5 seconds ahead, and I just had like this sinking feeling, like I know where this is headed. and by a half mile, he was 10 seconds up, and by a mile, he was 20 seconds up. And he was just getting in and out of everything faster and then outrunning me on every flat. He just dropped me. It was so rude what he did to me in front of my family.
On that day, you were the second fastest bald guy.
Yeah. And to this day, I've never won a Savage Axe.
Got to go today, huh?
Did you have more hair back then, Yuri?
I haven't had hair since I had Emery.
Oh, well. When are you going to jump on the Brakken bandwagon and just shave everything?
Yeah, I need to. That's what everybody at work says.
Eyebrows too, Brakken. You should just take the leap. I'm going to be at Boston. Are you going to show up to Boston? It's 2 weeks before that.
No. I don't really care for the Boston venue.
Oh, great.
Flying into Boston, and then it's like a 2-hour drive, and the drive is awful, and then the parking's awful, and
driving out of Boston from the airport anywhere is one of my least favorite experiences.
Yeah, and then you have to return back to Boston, and
it's always traffic. Your GPS always gets lost in all those tunnels.
Whoa, guys! Hey, try to not make me hate this before it even happens. Okay, I've never been to Boston.
If you have booked a flight, I would say fly into like Hartford or something like that, because it's just
okay. I'm just doing it because I have an event where a company is flying me from wherever I am the Tuesday after that. So I figured, oh, cool, they'll take care of half my flight. So all I have to do is fly in and fly out of the area, and they're paying for wherever. But they're going to book it out of Boston. But great, now I'm super looking.
I mean, it's doable. I do it a couple times a year. It's one of my least favorite airports to drive away from.
Why? What is so specific? Why?
Same thing, because you're at the airport, and to get anywhere, you have to get on this tangle of expressways that goes through constant tunnels. There's generally traffic, and GPS just won't pick up. And so you're getting in the tunnel, and there's a 3-way split in the tunnel. And if you don't know the area, your GPS isn't working, and you just wind up in this traffic roundabout. It's just, it can be a mess. Fly in at correct times. Don't fly in during rush hour.
Okay. Well, I have the luxury of flying in whenever I want to. Flying out, not so much. But I'm flying out on Tuesday, so it can't really be that bad. Middle of the day. So we'll see.
Weather was nice, and the terrain is kind of watch out for that. It's a little swampy, I would say, in some parts, and a little rocky in some parts.
Okay. Was it flat? I know nothing about the geography of Boston.
Where it is, it's where I think the Spartan was held there. I think that's what he was saying. I can't remember the name of the farm.
Dairy farm.
Yeah, it's a dairy farm. The guy was on American Ninja Warrior. I can't remember his name. He's really nice.
It's just super, just like pockmarked. It's just divoted everywhere.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Like Dallas?
Everywhere.
More.
Dallas is obnoxious. Every time I've done Dallas Savage, there's that section where you run up to kiss my walls, and it's just ankle breaking left and right because of all that, like, cows walk through there.
It's like that for a large chunk of it.
For most of it.
Okay, well, VJs, let's see how you hold my ankles together. Yuri, dude, it's been a ton of fun having you, and it looks like you and Brakken need to sync up and do some chatting a little bit. We're going to send you that guide, Faux Frizzle, as soon as it comes out. And I love that usually when we ask, hey, where are we going to see you next? People are like, oh, you'll see me at the North American Championships, or you see me at the World Championships. You're like, we'll do this cool little barbarian race, fun race. Are you showing up to any are you going to go outside of your typical realm this year and poke into something you don't normally do?
Honestly, not. We're cutting back this year.
You should not go to that Richmond race then. You should cut back that Illinois Savage.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no need to travel that far. That's a bad trip.
That is. We're testing it out because we may go back in September to run the BQ2, the marathon that you need to. That's a good qualifier for Boston. So we're testing that trip out for that one.
Whatever.
I'll be in Atlanta, Savage, Georgia Savage. That's really about it.
What do you think I asked about Boston?
Defending champ at Atlanta Savage.
No.
Woods he? I'm sure he'll show up.
Are you going to take him down? Because you won 2 years ago. He won last year. Are you going to reclaim the glory?
I don't know. I mean, Woods is so fast. And that course is made for him. I mean, it's just. I mean, you ran it. It's up and down hills like crazy, and that's what he's made to do. He can run down hills almost as fast as you.
So, a little sidebar here. I raced Yuri for the first time in a Savage race in Florida. And I didn't win, but I finished ahead of you that day. And I was just like, you know what? I know Yuri's good, but like I think he's had this myth built up that's a little bigger than reality. Like, I'm going to be just fine. I'm coming back 2 weeks later. I'm going to run Georgia. I know he can't beat me at this race now. Like, I got it. My first one, he didn't beat me. Like, it's only going to get worse for him from here. He destroyed me at Georgia. And then I was like, well, that's just his home turf. So now I'm going to race him in Illinois, and he wiped me there as well. So yeah, I have raced that Georgia course, and I got a taste of Yuri Force there. So I think I don't know if I was lucky or what that first race, but I'm 1-2 now against him in Savage race. And
Florida was the one where I was doing, it was Kiss My Walls. We were all together in Kiss My Walls, and I was almost all the way through it. And the volunteer made me start over because he said I did it on the wrong wall. And
you can't use that one.
Okay. I didn't know either. So
it gave me a false sense of confidence against you on Savage Race.
All I remember about that one is like you looked so easy and just so like easy running. You were just kind of hanging with Ken for most of the race, and then it was Teeter Tuber, and I think you ended up coming in like backward. It came out backwards or something. I don't quite know.
I did in that race what you did at Conquer the Gauntlet. I was very, very fit at the time, and I was confident I could run, but I didn't know these obstacles. And once I got within a half mile of the finish line, I'm like, all right, there's nothing tough left. And I must have put 15 seconds on Ken over the next 500 meters. And I got to Teeter Tuber 15 seconds up, and I left 15 seconds down. I was stuck in there for so long. I was starting to go crazy. When I finally got out, there were like 300 meters to the end, and I knew. I ran as hard as I could.
I mean, if that finish line had been 10 feet from farther.
It was like a bad dream. I was just watching it get closer and me get closer to him, and you could just tell I'm going to run out of real estate. I was so furious.
Savage finishes. That may be one of the best race finishes I've ever seen. Just how Ken had the lead, and then all of a sudden you were just like rocket ship after him.
That was pure anger. I couldn't believe it.
Teeter Tuber.
All I wanted was that axe.
Dude, Teeter Tuber has been the theft of many tall people's happiness during races. What?
Yeah, that's right. I remember which
Hunter.
Maryland or something with you. Which one was it with you?
You mean where I got stuck and lost the podium?
Yeah, you got stuck in it forever.
It was Dallas, dude. I was handily in second. I actually had you in sight. I think you were on Colossus or something. I wasn't going to catch you, but the point was I could at least see you. And second was handily behind me. And I'd never lost a map before. And then I get to Teeter Tuber. And I don't even know how long I was in. It's the first time I've ever just like started swearing out of anger mid-race. I was stuck in this stupid tube, and from my knee to my hip is too long to crawl in there, the size of the tube. And so it's this annoying little like pinchy but I'm soaking wet thing, so making no progress and
then you hear someone enter the tube and you hear it tip and it just drives you crazy.
I was so mad because I heard or Matt catch up and I was like, no, and he left and he was gone before I even got out of it. That was so funny. I hate that.
It's the obstacle dominator curse. Hunter had the same thing happen.
Oh, dude. He's just as tall as me and he's even bigger. That thing must be an absolute nightmare.
And you know what? The second race we did it, even though Yuri beat me, I got in and out of that thing like what's that? I just figured out the technique and I was good. And I thought, how did I spend like 45 seconds inside this thing panicking?
Did you both have done the Austin Spartan Super Course, right? At some point?
No.
What? Never?
I did a sprint there once.
Did you go through that
time ago?
Did you go through that long crawl tube thing?
Yeah, that's where Hobie and I got to that about the same time, and I left like 35 seconds behind him.
That thing's terrifying, dude. I'd never experienced the feeling of, oh, maybe I'm claustrophobic until that was my first ever race, was the sprint there. And I saw where the course tape was taking us, and I was like, what? This is psycho. Like it's so long and so tiny that I was maybe halfway through and I was starting to freak out because the water line rises up to where you're going through water as well. And it's like, it was terrifying. But
I finished on my back with my mouth up out of the water.
Just trying to catch up.
It makes me not want to go there.
Yeah.
If it's dry, it's fine. But still, it's slow
and
moving
long.
in there.
It is a long tunnel too. Like, I don't know if that's just perception, but that's probably the longest weird tunnel crawl there is in OCR. But
right,
Yuri,
should we rapid fire this man?
Yes, we should. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. You're wearing glasses, so you must be intelligent. I'm going to start you out with this one. One book everyone should read, non-athletic related.
Ken Follett's World Without End.
Okay. Now one athletic book everyone should read.
One athletic book. Go dog go.
If you don't read them, that's fine. That's a good answer.
Well, I used to, and the only ones I ever read were like martial arts books. So the basics of jiu-jitsu.
Oh,
like 9 out of 10 fights always end up in the ground. So if you know even a little bit of ground fighting, that's what I would commit to. Like, just know a little bit, know the basics, know how to get out of a fight.
Now, I think I know this answer, but favorite OCR shoe of all time?
Oh, yeah. Innovates are good, but I got to go with the Scots. I like the Scots.
Yeah.
I like the drop. They feel good, but they hold a lot of water. But I like the Scots.
Horses for courses, and that one is not for a wet course.
Yeah, that one's not.
Benny, take over for a few here.
Yeah. Who's your ideal sponsor? Anybody in the world? Biggest brands? Anybody? Your mom? Who?
My mom.
I'm trying to open the kimono. Literally anybody in the world can sponsor you. Any brand, whatever. Who's your sponsor?
Oh, I would never run professionally. I have no interest in doing anything like that.
No. Okay. Well, you know what? Fine. You don't have to rep for them. They just put money. Okay. No, that's not fun. All right. No sponsors for you.
I like Delta. Delta, so I can actually fly for free. I like that. That's pretty good.
You already fly for free. That's not.
I don't fly for free.
What?
We're a government agency. We do not fly for free. We don't get any discount at all.
Oh man, that freaking sucks.
What were you gonna say before Carly said Delta?
I like the what socks do I wear?
Oh, Merrill socks.
Not Merrill socks.
Oh, the toe sock?
No, the
Mudgear
socks. Those are pretty nice. I like
Brakken doesn't know anything about Mudgear socks.
Let's see if we can get you hooked up with Mudgear.
Yeah.
I can't speak for Delta, but maybe Mudgear.
You don't have the connections with Delta? Come on. Brakken.
No, and now Benny's burnt our bridges with his Atlanta tirade.
Yeah, screw that. Is that Delta's headquarters or hub or whatever?
It's one of their hubs, yeah.
Yeah, no thanks. All right, favorite OCR athlete?
Oh, yeah.
No pandering, Carly. No
you
pandering.
Say Brakken?
Yeah. That sounds like I'm a suck up, but yeah, Brakken.
Oh.
Is this the first we've had say that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yuri just made it into our Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he did. You're getting 2 guides for free. One for Carly, too.
That's right.
All right.
And originally, I was going to include errors in it and like bad workouts so I could beat you at Savage, but now I'm going to give you a good plan.
What's your least favorite thing to eat?
Least favorite thing to eat? Oh, that's
anything new recipes I try.
I like to eat. Food is good.
All right. What's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal?
Yeah. What's your favorite one?
So many to choose from. Carly is a fantastic cook. Fantastic.
All right. If you're being executed tomorrow, what's your final meal, your last dinner?
That's morbid.
My pancakes.
The pancakes would be good, but I'd have to go with tomato kill pasta with bacon bits, with little crumble bacon, little spice, garlic bread. For dessert would be homemade vanilla ice cream or peanut butter ice cream, homemade peanut butter ice cream with fudgy brownies.
You're talking like the shitty little Debbie fudgy brownies or like legit homemade brownies?
Oh, all homemade, yeah.
That's awesome. All right, favorite non-OCR athlete?
Ooh.
Usain Bolt.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. Usain Bolt's fun to watch.
He's definitely entertaining.
Wow, I wouldn't picture you identifying with someone who's such a showman.
I didn't until I watched the documentary on him, and it was very eye-opening about. I didn't put myself in his shoes about what he has put up, the pressure that he's put up with all this training, and it was kind of an eye-opener of like what kind of person he is and why he races. Like he races for the sheer competition. Like it was kind of almost thrust upon him. So I did like watching I don't know if he's my favorite non-OCR athlete. I honestly don't have enough time to do that. I spend most of my time reading Goodnight Moon and Berenstain Bear books. So he was fun to watch. The other one is Matt Frazier. That dude is.
Ooh, are you excited about Hunter getting into the games this year?
I'm not. I like Hunter, and I'm gonna root for him, but I don't get into CrossFit until I watch the games, and watching the games is really interesting because those guys are they seem really down to earth, but at the same time they're so spectacular to watch, and they make things look so easy that like pistol squats.
So why are you not excited for Hunter then?
Yeah. Let's get to the juicy.
The juicy.
He asked you, are you excited for Hunter in the games? You said I am not.
I'm not. I'm very curious to see how he does.
It's a very PC answer. We can go with that.
All right. If you could live anywhere in the world specifically for the purpose of training for OCR, where would it be?
I've never thought about that. Yeah, Colorado would be fun. It'd be nice. But I've never been in there in the wintertime, and I hear it's pretty cold there. So
it's not that bad.
It's not?
Nah.
All right. Go-to workout. What is your favorite quality day? Your favorite hard workout session?
No.
What'd she say?
We do driveway drags, which I got to admit they are pretty good. It's basically we run up a driveway. My mother-in-law's or Carly's parents' driveway, which is like, 60, 70 feet? Like straight up. And I drag Carly up with a rubber band. And so they're very painful. Like it's like doing squats while trying to sprint, I guess. I don't know. They're not.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, Brakken,
favorite race venue of all time.
Favorite race venue of all time. Oh, I don't know.
George Savage.
No, it would be that. Pass. I don't.
Fine. Benny, get one he can answer.
What? I'm the easy one?
No, but last time this happened too.
Oh, that's true. Childhood hero.
what was his name? I want to know if it was a hero, but I think the guy who really made me want to start running was Michael Johnson. Yeah. In the '96 Olympics, he ran the 200 and the 400. He was, I wouldn't say a hero, but
in Atlanta.
Yeah, in Atlanta. I liked watching him, and he kind of interested me in running.
Well, what about him? That. What did he do different that made him make you interested in running?
I think it was just watching him in the Olympics. He set the world record in both the 2 and the 400, and he won first place in both, which was like never done before or something. I don't know. I was like 12 and young and super.
Well, and he was dynamic. He had just had this like aura around him. He's ripped. He had this thick gold chain. He ran with a much different stride than everyone, and he had these bright gold, shiny spikes he raced in. And he won. He was untouchable, and he set world records. He was just dynamic.
Nice. Well,
all right. So you said you would not run professionally. No. If you could, would you choose one sport you would be professional in? Would you enjoy being a professional athlete if you could choose your sport? And if so, what would it be?
If I couldn't do my job, like if I had to do that, it would be a fighter. I miss it. There's just, I get a little road rage, just a little bit. And when I was fighting, it was just such, whether you win a fight, or whether you get pounded, it takes the rage away. It doesn't matter. The outcome is still the same for me. Huh. That's why I didn't really care whether losing or winning. I mean, I always wanted to do my best, but like the end result was still the same of relaxation and calming.
Wow.
I enjoyed that.
I've never heard it said like that. It's a really cool way of saying it. And I've never been in a combat sport before. And my thought is more like, even though temporarily maybe, I feel like that night I would just get like super pissed afterwards. But I've never thought about it like that.
When you get beat to the point where like you are on the mat and you don't want to get up, it's very calming. I mean, it's painful, but it's just there is no rage. There is no anger. There is no, for me at least, there was just, it's just, wow, I just want to go home and watch a movie and not do anything.
I could see that.
So.
Well, I only have one more question. What is the worst injury you ever sustained in combat sports?
Oh, in combat sport. Oh, I was going to say probably, honestly, PF. Plantar was pretty far up there. I've broken my nose so many times that like it's not even a nose anymore. It's not used for breathing. Really more like aesthetic. That's about it.
You have quite the sexy nose.
But it's I think I've broken it 5 times.
Wow. Okay, last question. I want to know your workout of the week, like the one you enjoy the most.
Oh, I thought that was the driveway drags question.
Oh, Bracken, did you ask that?
He said he didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. Carly enjoys it. Carly enjoys it a lot. She likes to yell at me.
I'm sure she does.
Yeah. Why are you going so slow?
We'll send a complimentary whip along with the guide.
Don't do that because she would use it. Don't do that. Running with the girls is pretty fun because we usually listen to like the soundtrack of Moana or
Moana, top 3 Disney movies of all time.
It's
no. Yep.
No. Dude, from the guy who's gonna be getting a Disney emblem tattooed on him by the end of this year and has managed national tours for Disney, is a Disney obsessed fan.
It doesn't make you a better film critic.
Moana is not in the top 3. It is a great movie, but there's no freaking way you could think in the top 3.
What's your top 3?
We've got Aladdin, we've got Lion King, and I've never actually had to put this down.
No. Well, then you can't.
But Moana's. I can tell you, Moana's not the 3rd.
Any of the Toy Stories would be above those.
No. Oh, okay. Yeah. Wait. About the 2 I said?
I like Aladdin.
You're not big in the Lion King?
So much. It's one of those fake stories where it's like, yeah, animals all get together, but not really.
Okay, all right. Well,
but
we're gonna wrap this up here, but this is gonna be coming out on Friday, and I'm gonna put out a challenge to the general public. I'm gonna be doing one of the Yancey Camp challenges that anybody can do. It's on yanceycamp.com under challenges. And it is, I don't know what he's calling it. It's like the Yancey Camp mile something. But basically you run 400 meters. No, you do freaking crap. You do 5 reps of ground to overhead with 100-pound something, a bag or a slam ball or whatever. You do 5 reps of that. You run 400 meters and you do that until you hit a mile. So it's a total of something. Not so great at not so great at the math. That's what we have Brakken here for. I'm going
to nitpick Yuri. Toy Story is a Pixar movie, so it doesn't count in Disney movies.
Well, Disney owns Pixar, so. But
yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, but they have different. There's a differentiation there.
Right. Like you can't say Up is a great Disney movie because it's not a Disney movie, even though it's a great movie. Apparently, you're a cyborg if you go under 7 minutes with this. I'm going to be going for roughly 7:10 to 7:25. I don't really know. But to anybody who thinks they can get under 7:30, 7:30 is the gold standard of you are an OCR monster. So if you think you can do it, then go to the Obstacle Dominator Instagram or comments on the website at obstacledominator.com. Tell us what your time was, and I'm going to tell you guys what I did next Friday, assuming however sick I am now.
It must be a barbell. It must be
right.
Round, oblong in nature.
You have to follow the exact parameters under the challenge description, meaning you've got to have it on video, you've got to show the weight of the bag, and it cannot have handles. You read all the parameters on there, but it's 1 mile, 20 reps with 100-pound, and you're doing ground to overhead. So, challenge issued. Brakken, what do you think you could get on that?
I don't know. It would really come down to if I burn out in the last 2 sets or not. I would like to think I could run right around 5:20 to 5:30 for the mile section.
Mm-hmm.
Those reps in there. So I think I could run 7:20 or under. How much under depends on how badly I blow up on the reps.
Right. That's so far what the agreement has been online talking about it is the last 2 reps.
The over under.
Right. Yuri, what about you? 100 pounds.
100 pounds? That's like how much I weigh.
I know.
Man. If Brakken says 7:20 for him, I'm going with like 10 minute flat.
No. No, you're either going to be in the 7s or you're not going to be able to finish the workout.
Oh, well, then I probably do not finish.
I don't think so. I think you can do it. But cool. Okay, well, challenge has been issued. Yuri, thanks so much for coming on, dude, and being the first legit podcast that has done an interview with you. And JK, we love you, Link Endurance. It was Miles and Mo, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, go listen to them, listeners. But if you made it this far, then you've already listened to us, so we don't care at this point. Leave a review, guys, because we need to know what you like, what you don't like. If you like my foresty background, or if I could stop fighting it with duct tape every time. If Brakken needs to fess up that he's not actually in a sexy studio, it's really just a weight room that looks great on camera. Whatever. Give us some feedback. Give us some 5 stars if you think we've earned it. And Brakken, any final words for the Yuri?
I'll see you in a few weeks, maybe.
Yeah, we got like
how definitive is that?
I'm trying to get Carly to run the Blitz competitive, so that's the training.
I'm running my first ultra on the 13th of July, so there's a real good chance I might not be able to recover.
Oh, like ultra just running?
Yeah, I'm running a 50K.
Oh, 50K. Okay. For whenever I hear ultra, I think of like 100 miles.
I mean, I think that's probably what a real ultra is, but for me, 50K might as well be, 100 miles.
Whatever. 50K for you is like a half marathon for me.
I think it might be confusing who you're talking to.
You ran, and what was it? You were telling me in 2012 where you ran the world
World's toughest mudder.
No, it was you ran the first lap and you were like, yeah, it's not that bad. So you ran a second lap.
We've heard that story, and the second lap didn't go great.
yeah, I made it 400 meters before I fell apart and died epically. And that's the one race I've run in my entire life longer than a Spartan Beast.
Wow.
Outside of Spartan, I've never raced longer than 9 miles.
You've raced longer than before that.
Outside of Spartan race, outside of OCR, I've run one 29-mile race. That was that unplanned Ultra Beast. All the rest have been beasts. And outside of OCR, I've never raced longer than 9 miles.
Oh, wow. Well,
and I did one 9-mile race. Outside of that, I've never raced longer than 5 miles.
So this is a 50K just running.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is way out of the comfort zone, huh, man?
The longest I've ever moved outside of OCR is 21 miles. And that was just an easy long run.
Wow. So are you have a plan for it? Do you have a pace, or are you just kind of going with?
Yeah, I have a plan and a pace, and what I don't know is if I'm going to be able to recover in time for a Savage a week or two later.
Well, yeah. I ran the Bone for endurance, and then I tried running Georgia Savage. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Hashtag certified fresh legs.
I'm sure, why not like a marathon? Why a 50K?
Because I want to get 4 hours or longer on my feet. This is a gear and nutrition prep for my Ultra Beast later. I want to dial things in with this, find out what does and doesn't work. And a marathon's just, you could get through a marathon with no fueling if you really wanted to. It wouldn't be great, but I want something that forces me to fuel and drink and has some significant elevation gain and loss. I want to test out socks and shoes, all that good stuff. So it's got to be long enough that forces me to do that.
So it's just like almost a training race. You're just seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Yep.
Brakken, what's going to be the first thing you eat when the race is over, Brakken?
Either pizza or burger.
Yeah, Little Caesars pizza, right?
Every single long distance race I've ever done, I've been like, yeah, I want this. And then after the race, I'm going, yeah, I don't want that at all. Is it for the Tahoe, like Ultra or something?
Yep.
Or no?
Yeah, I'm putting all the eggs, however many eggs I have in the Tahoe Ultra basket.
Who usually runs that? Like Atkins and
he has in the past. I don't know. I don't care. I want to get out there and I want to just get after it and see what I can do in an Ultra.
That's what it's at.
I just got to find out.
That's what I like to do.
Cool. Well, guys, we can keep talking forever, but this is now the longest episode we've ever done. Pretty sure.
Yeah, so I keep yabbering on.
Oh, no. It's good. It's good. But we have to cut it at some point because you're even later than we are, and I'm ready to go to bed, and we still got to record the intro and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so Yuri, thanks so much for coming on. Brakken, don't go anywhere because we still got to film an intro.
Visit ObstacleDominator.com for show notes, training, and racing resources. And leave your question for Beni and Brakken.